Good evening, everybody, and a very special good evening to Vanguard Master. How are you doing? There's a lot to get through. I don't know if I should just jump straight into the game. My mic volume seems to be a bit aggressive. Let's try and take that down a touch. Okay, that seems a bit better. Sorry about that. Yeah, this should fix it. Anything else I'm going to put on you guys. When I see it peaking out, I know to bring it down. But anything less, I'm going to say you guys need to sort it out. But yeah, good to see you again, Vanguard Master. Things are going well. I had some computer problems before. I actually really need to get this processor sent off to Intel. But I do have things like streams to do, and I also have some other things that I need to resolve. But I'll save those for another time. This morning was a bit of a bit exciting. As unpleasant as the weather was, we had like a bunch of wind and it just suddenly got cold, kind of like everywhere. But a big consequence of that was everything was sort of encased in ice, and like down to individual blades of grass and like branches and things like that. I took a really good photo on Snapchat, but I forgot to save it, so I quickly tried to fire off another one, but it was more like as I was walking by and just kind of got something to capture the idea. It was definitely not very well composed and such, so I felt bad about that. And actually, Lottie Bevan of Weather Factory fame made a very good point that if my apartment was still without power, I should resurrect some of the system walks that I used to do when it was snowy in Ottawa. And I actually thought that would have been a great idea. I couldn't do it on Twitch, but it would have been really fun to do that. Unfortunately, it's like on the ground there's still a bunch of ice, but it looks like it's been warmer, which it has been. And it's all like shattered and broken, and it looks very unpleasant now. And then my apartment has power, so it's a little bit harder to justify not doing a game. Although, of course, I'm late as usual. So, for those of you who like Stellaris or have been on the fence about it, I'll get a bit of advertising stuff out of the way. I'm sure I'll bring it up again. There are some very good sales going on right now. There is a GOG sale going on right now. You can do !GOG to go to the main website. If you do that, there's a little bit, basically I get a bit of revenue for driving things to the website. Also, if you sign up for GOG through that link, that helps me out. So even if you don't want to get anything, looks like that isn't a proper hot link. Thank you for testing that for me, Vanguard Master. I'm going to get that fixed real quick. Much better. Okay. So the thing that's interesting about this particular sale is that it's I think so. If you want my opinion, I think they're trying to train their marketing algorithms a little bit better. So the deal is that if you have a GOG account and you have a wish list, there is the chance that you will win something off your wish list. On top of that, they've put sort of the most wish-listed games for the game. Oh, it's changed a lot, Vanguard Master. I think you're really going to enjoy it. So yeah, you have a chance of getting something from your wish list, and then of course, if you have something on your wish list which you haven't won, all of the most popular or the most wish-listed games are on there. So the other half of Weather Factory, Alexis Kennedy, was the only one to give me a little bit of advice with regards to the Stalker games, and it was sort of I think there might be. I think a little bit of distance in terms of the types of games that we enjoy, at least based on sort of what I've heard. But like overall, I think it overlaps reasonably well on the occasions I've heard of things. A good example is he seems very fond of Elite Dangerous, while I've not been able to quite grasp onto. I've got some time in it now, and I can't say I don't enjoy it, but I've found I haven't quite been able to get into that point where I spend like hours upon hours in the game, and it's like I could just fall into this. It's hours and hours in the game, and I'm still sort of like, how does this work again, or what am I supposed to be doing right now? And I know that's part of the experience. Like Grand Theft Auto was inspired by the original Elite. So there's a little bit of me just not quite engaging the game on the terms that it's supposed to be but I find it enjoyable. I'd actually really like to put some quality time into it because I sort of feel like my initial frustrations with some of the way things were done, like flying into suns, made me a little bit unfair to the game originally. And I'd sort of like to go back and evaluate it with sort of fresh eyes. But I mean, there's just so much to play that I'm getting a little bit I'm getting a little bit swamped. But anyways, I picked up Stalker on that sale. I might pick up some other things. There's some really interesting one. The Witness is on sale. The Homeworld series is there. I think Metro, the Shadowrun games, if you haven't gotten the Shadowrun games yet, excellent series. They're on GOG. Of course, GOG is DRM free. It's got the fair price policy. It's a partnership I'm very happy to be with. And then on top of that, if you are fond of strategy games, there are a couple of things in Humble. Currently, there's a strategy bundle which has Endless Space and Endless Legend, along with Dungeon of the Endless. Dungeon of the Endless is a little bit more of a roguelike, but that was one of the first things that I played on stream. All very enjoyable. Tooth and Tail is in that bundle as well. And then they've got a sci-fi sale going on. So if you don't own Stellaris yet, it's currently 60% off. Some of the DLC is on sale as well. And then there's also No Man's Sky, Elite Dangerous. That's why I mentioned it. And I feel like there's a couple of others that I'm missing. But anyways, a lot of very good sales going on right now. If you want to pick up Stellaris at a lower cost, ! Game, that will be an affiliate link for Jesse Quill, who is my mod and somebody who I like to send a little traffic. Again, these things don't raise costs for you. But they do wind up helping either myself or Jesse Quill, who obviously give free entertainment. And so it would help us out a lot if you decided to use those sorts of things if there was something you liked. Finally, I did mention both halves of Weather Factory, and last week we I didn't make as much progress as I wanted. I think I'm always going to say that about Cultist Simulator, but Cultist Simulator is almost upon us. It's a little over a month. And if you haven't checked it out, I do strongly recommend wishlisting that game. Obviously, you can decide if it's your thing or not, but if you are one of those people who are like, yeah, I think I'm probably going to get this at some time, you want to wishlist it because in the first, I think it's a week, but don't quote me on that because I am only involved with this game as a fan. I cheerlead the hell out of it, but I don't know anything that you guys don't know. So with that in mind, I think it's a week. But basically, for the people who get it early on, you get the Perpetual Edition, which is what the people who bought on Kickstarter got. And the Perpetual Edition will give you lifetime DLC. So if you think this is the sort of game that you want to get, you are not saving yourself any money by signing yourself up for future DLC purchases. You can avoid all of that. Imagine you could have got that deal for Stellaris. I know a bunch of you would have taken that. I don't think Weather Factory is exactly Paradox, but they've sort of hinted at what some of the ideas are going to be for the DLC, and I'm very intrigued. So I think you guys will see that. So I think that gets all of my obligations out of the way. Thank you to Weather Factory for the stream and game suggestions today. I will say, for you guys who do follow me on Twitter, it helps a lot if you do reply to, hey, I'm interested in this game, is it worth it? Or would you guys like to see me stream this stuff? Because it does actually go into my decision-making process for games. Sometimes it's a game you've not heard of, that's fine if you don't answer it. But I'm never annoyed by getting contacted on Twitter, especially for stuff that I bring up. And of course, it's always nice to have a little engagement. What else? Yes, GOG. Obviously, that is my little bit of partnership, and I think it's probably the most diverse of the sales. And finally, there's the Humble sales, and particularly for the Monday Night crowd, because I know obviously a lot of you guys like strategy, and of course the game that I'm playing is on sale. So I think that's everything. For those of you who follow Stellaris quite closely, Development Diaries I think are coming back next week. Anyways, the post support for Apocalypse is done. And Vanguard Mastery has been very patient. First one in, but still putting up with my my rambling for 10 minutes. You get to see the changes that they made in Apocalypse. Gone are these bizarre circles that sort of expand, and now you have to fight for every inch of territory. We were playing the Zukukan Cartel. I think that's the correct... Zukukan Cartel. I'll admit, I'm not crazy about the story that I came up with this, but you know, I'm gonna have to live with my bad decisions, and I'll show it to you. So the story for these guys, Camdor's history is one of rival fleets competing for the ocean. Competing on the ocean. Competing for the ocean world's few islands. Ports and land brought wealth, but also the raids of all other pirate fleets, giving rise to an ancient and respected naval tradition among the Zukukan. Recognizing the value of plunder and always short on crew, the Pirate King sought to subdue their foes with as little damage to their future plunder and slaves as possible, a habit that continues to this day. Today marks a new chapter in the history of the Zukukan. United under the admiralty of the pirate queen Prim Krek, the species takes its first steps to the stars, seeking new worlds and the riches that they may bring. The Eyes of Sin 92! Good to see you. And I am really looking forward to being able to play this game with you at some point, because I know you are on a slightly better computer now. For those of you who don't know the Eyes of Sin, if you like this emote, or this emote, and none of you are allowed to like this emote except for me, unless you pay like 25 bucks. The Eyes of Sin is responsible for these. She's a very dear friend. She's somebody who does some streaming in her own right, and will hopefully be starting that again soon. But we know her here as a very faithful and dedicated viewer. It's great to see you again. So the species are ocean preference, thrifty, so they gain 15% for energy credits. Quick learners, so high experience gain, but slow breeders. And that was sort of the motivation behind this slavery. Now, there's an interesting civic here, which is the barbaric despoilers. The society holds few things sacred. To fight is to live, and the strongest may seize whatever they covet. We can't form migration treaties or federations, and we have the Despolation casus belli on neighboring empires, so we can basically just like plunder. And there's the raiding bombardment stance, which basically allows us to abduct the population from certain systems. Now, here we wound up beside a hive mind, so that didn't help us too much. We recently just fought a battle to sort of gain access to this area again. But basically, our neighbors don't like us, but we're also reasonably strong right now, so there's that. And then on top of that, we've got the Slaver Guild, so I'm sort of leaning into this idea of enslaving populations in order to achieve particular goals. I'm currently running a fairly heavy energy deficit. I don't recall where that's coming from. I thought it would be because... Well, one of those is because I don't have a trading system. Sorry, I'm just taking a minute to go through my system here. So again, if you're new, one of the advantages here, we just started this playthrough last week, so we've got plenty of opportunities to figure out what's going on. Right now, I'm trying to find out why I'm running an energy deficit. So I've got a lot of stations, and those will eventually start paying for themselves. So notice I'm going for Astora, Olim, Taurus. I don't think I'm going to go for Brink. I like Taurus because it's a good choke point, and Sanch isn't that remarkable to me. So right now we're sitting on about 7 energy resources. My fleet is out. That's a big reason. And no leader assigned? Yes, I see why. What else? We've got a population that's being built here. I don't think I want to switch anybody out on this, though. Yeah. Alright, I think I'm just going to let nature take its course as far as the energy is concerned. This spaceport's already building another colony ship, so I'm going to have to get my energy story in line. Starbase-wise, I've got everything I need here. Ampal Deer, I will start upgrading as quickly as I can. And I think the next little bit is going to be just getting the expansion I can. I'm going to start with Isatora, Olum, and Tauros, and then maybe double back to Oka Polaron. This is going to be a bit difficult because I know I'm going to have some barbarians that show up, or pirates that show up as a result of some of this. But who's on the debris? Okay. Investigating. All right. All right, looks like they're lined up. All right, so we're ready to go. So this is going to be a little bit more of consolidation. So I've defanged my immediate rival. It does say that we're equivalent, but the fleet power is where we need it to be. Not quite at a point where we can demand vassalization, but we have other ways that we can weaken them if we ever want to get to that point. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to try and close down. I'm going to try and close down some of my borders. So again, going out to Taurus, try to close up some of these gaps. An aspiration that I would have would actually be to sort of close off the galaxy sort of on somewhere along these lines, like basically to keep them from being able to expand out, because at that point that means that, you know, I can move up here at my leisure. I can move sort of off to the side. I have lots of options available to me. I do sort of want to check out the left hand side before too long, because there are some mineral rich areas. I don't think we have much hope of being able to grab that in time, but being able to grab this is fairly obvious. We can probably expand out to here. But of course, the more snake-like I make the borders, the worse the pirate problem is going to be, and it's going to be a pirate problem in areas where I really can't defend my area. So you usually have some interesting insights into the economy and resource management and tying them to the real world. Would you be able to touch on those during the stream? Absolutely. So are you thinking specifically about the changes in Apocalypse, or are you thinking just in general about what's going on in terms of this game? In the meantime, we've got the farming subsidies. Hydroponics techniques can be further developed by creating farms with unique atmospheres, simulating different ecosystems. This allows for the production of food with higher levels of nutrients. All right, so I can increase my starbase capacity, but I'm at 204 and I have energy problems, so I don't think that's the wisest decision. This is a little tempting because it's a special resource and it does increase my food output by 10%, and I am going to have some food problems. But the planetary capital is very tempting. Finally, I can go for the cheapest cost. Oh. If you can just give me a quick second, guys. Hello? Sorry about that, guys. Nobody on the other end of that. Just going to take a quick second to see who that number was. Okay. Just in general, remember talking at one point about how this game uses resources instead of money and different types of currency. It sounds a bit stupid when you try to type it out. Yeah, well, actually, one thing specifically, Vanguard Master, I think I was probably talking a little bit more about... Hearts of Iron in that case. So here's what I'll do. I'm going to put the game on normal speed just so we can get a little bit of progress while I talk about this. I'm just going to make a quick decision. So 40 months, 60 months, 80 months. I do like planetary capitals, but I think I can put the money towards something else right now. Energy Siphon, what does that give me again? So 10 to 27 damage, very good against shields, and I think I do have a shield-based, or like a laser-based navy right now. So I think, where the hell is the fleet manager? Yeah, I actually think as much as this pains me, I actually think I'm going to do the Energy Siphon because it gives me a complement to my lasers. Going to normal speed for a little bit. So if you're looking for money in this game, it's basically energy credits. Is an energy-backed currency accepted by all spacefaring races. You can gain more energy by building and upgrading power plants on the surface of colonized planets and using construction ships to build mining stations. A small and otherwise insignificant moon orbiting a gas giant appears to be on a trajectory that will soon result in a collision with the primary. Well, we'll research that. It's finished building whatever it was building. These guys have been upgraded. So in this particular case, energy is sort of abstracted away. It's almost actually the same thing. No, it's not almost. It is exactly the same thing that Sid Meier's Alpha Centauri did. It used energy to represent currency as well. And in some cases, you can actually sort of say that's not entirely unlike what we're doing. Like in this case, you know, people will maybe want to claim on a particular resource, and energy is a major resource that we use. I'm relying on energy to use this computer and to keep my internet active, my phone, you know, I'm always looking for a charger, things like that. You need to generate it somehow. So energy is a very important resource. And in this case here, you can sort of see this as, you know, it's all well and good for me to have a bunch of mines and things like that, but you actually need to make sure that people are paid. You need to make sure that the exchanges are facilitated. And so in this particular case, the game has the game has basically abstracted it down to, like, here's the big thing. If you play something like a hive mind, then you can say, well, what does a hive mind care about, like, barter or anything like that? Like, it, you know, it's all working towards one goal, which, fair enough. But one, the hive mind may want to facilitate trade with other species, at which point it's going to have to find some means of doing so, in this case, the energy-backed currency. Or alternatively, you can say it's like, it's all well and good, but, you know, if you're, let's say you're, you know, the giant, you know, single, you know, fleshy entity from Omicron 7 or something like that, you know, you are going to need to consume things to, you know, to rebuild cells, to metabolize and you know, either make yourself bigger or perform a particular action or what have you. There's a few different ways that you can motivate it. So in this case, in Stellaris, energy is actually energy is a more explicit currency than what you see in other games. Minerals represent your productive capacity, and in this case, their specific story here. It's a collective term for the basic resources that we need to construct ships, stations, and planetary buildings. We can increase our monthly mineral production by, and gives a list. Then there's food. Food represents the various nutrients required to sustain and grow pops. Surplus food will be stockpiled according to the food stockpile policy and contributes to pop growth if the stockpile is full. Additional food can be grown from constructing farms on the planet's surface. Influence. So this basically represents your political ability. Influence represents political clout and is used for many things like enacting edicts, making claims, building outposts, and dealing with factions. The gain rate remains fairly constant throughout the game, but can be increased by winning the support of factions in our empire and declaring other empires your rivals. So the idea here, there's a few things that are going on to this. I can elaborate on it later if you want, but it is worth mentioning that I'm getting 6 because I'm authoritarian and because I am currently pleasing the peace and order movement. Finally, unity. Unity is used to unlock new traditions. We can increase our output by building autothon monuments and other unity buildings, and it's also used to make some pretty decent indie games. So, terminal orbit. One of the many moons cycling Rothier 5 has a terminal orbit. It will soon collide with a gas giant in what is sure to become a massive impact event. This event has been millions of years in the making, and is just a startling coincidence that the impact has been fated to occur just after a visit by one of our ships. Many of our scientists wish to observe and record the event, but we have only a narrow window before it is too late. So we will look at the project. Yeah. The radical elements on Camdor have been pacified, and the slaves are back in line where they belong. Excellent. So just queuing up a little bit of system exploration for... Alright. I'm going to need to make some decisions from out here, but... And technology-wise, these sensors have been tuned to look for any gravitational changes in space, such as those produced by the presence of a starship. Alright, so we've got another... Now, we did choose the energy weapon, so I'm maybe not as worried about that. Let's go for the improved deflector. Well, hang on. Can I see any of the enemy fleets? Yes, I can. So the most likely enemy that I'm going to be going up against is primarily... So they're actually not going to be too scary for my shield, so perhaps I should improve the reactor booster instead. So this will give me a bonus to power generation. Receiving a transmission from the independent space station of the Artisan Troop. They appear to have successfully translated our language, and we've gained 46 influence for it. A visitor! This is a joyous occasion indeed. Oh, forgive my manners. I believe introductions are in order. We are the Artisan Troop. Our members have dedicated their lives to the pursuit of art, music, culture, and all other things which make existence bearable to a sapient being. Please, if you'd like to share in the wonder of our creations, do not hesitate to contact us. Interesting. So it's all well and good for me to talk about the abstraction of currency into energy and minerals and that, but there's a couple things that are maybe worth reflecting on here. So right now I'm running an energy deficit, and I'm doing that so that I can have 77 of mineral production. This is actually not too dissimilar from what Amazon is doing. So if you take a look at Amazon, the business, it doesn't make a lot of money. That would be if you measure it as profits. And the valuation of the company is actually quite a bit higher than what you would normally expect for a company that is making this level of profit. So you might ask the question, well, like, what's going on? Like, why do people value Amazon so much? I mean, there's lots of reasons. I mean, a lot of people see the potential in it, but let's be specific about this. Like, why is it that Amazon is sort of given this special treatment compared to other businesses? And the big reason for that is the profits of Amazon usually go towards building out other opportunities. So, for instance, the business started selling books online. Well, now they basically sell almost everything online. In fact, it was just the only real expansion. Hello, Blasi. The only thing that they've sort of pulled back on most recently is distributing medication, prescription drugs. But they've since moved from books, and of course they're also a very large supplier of web services, probably to a level that if Amazon Web Services were to go down, a very substantial portion of the websites that you do are going down. So what they're doing is they're taking that, they're building up capital, they're building up the capacity to produce goods and services. And so that's sort of what I'm doing here, which is I'm saying that, okay, at some point I'm going to need to balance this out, right? So I had savings, which I was building up, and now I've earned enough to sort of generate this negative savings and to be able to run it. I could sustain this for over 100 months. And the idea here is that I'm doing this because I know that by taking, Istora, actually, you know what? I should probably, from Olum, I should claim this because it looks like they're getting ready to put a base here. So I know between these two systems on their own, I'm going to be able to claim 12 energy. And then I've got another 7 sitting aside here. So the idea is that I am currently making negative energy. I'm drawing down on my reserves because I know that in the end, this expansion is going to put me at a level where I'm going to be able to generate even more. And the reason I'm focusing so much on my industrial base right now is that I need to build things. I need to be able to to build navies. I need to be able to upgrade my star bases. So for instance, one of the things I'll do here, I'll put in a trading hub so that I'm able to sort of offset some of these energy losses. That's going to give me 4 to begin with, and then once I build an off-world trading company, that will be improved even more. I'm also going to put an anchorage, so I'm going to give up some of those energy gains, but that's going to allow me to have a larger fleet. So there's a specific strategy that's being employed in here, and you'll see governments do this as well, where they'll borrow to do certain projects because it makes a lot more sense to realize the gains from, let's say, infrastructure like a highway or a hospital. Hey, yep, great to see you again. I didn't change it, however, it was higher than before, but I have been told that it's acceptable, so I would recommend adjusting whatever settings you have on your end. There are a few people who I can usually get some very accurate reads on, but if I just take chat's view of it, I wind up changing the setting for each individual who comes in. Actually, if you can just give me a quick second.
Vessels upgraded.
All right, sorry about that. Let's take a look at the construction queue. All right, so upgrades are done. We've got an upgrade. Okay, so let's upgrade the farms. The reason for doing that, it is going to cost us some energy,
Star system
but the benefit for this is that I'm going to be able to get over my slow growth a little bit faster. That's one of the reasons why I did that slightly counterintuitive move for myself of going for the farming technology as early as I did. And the main reason for that was I don't know, I tend to have, with the slow breeding one, I'm going to have a storage problem anyway. Hello, Jesse Quill. Good to see you again. I guess I'm going to have to start doing some shout-outs in a little bit. Just 1 second. Thank you very much for the host, Jess. If you can just give me 1 second.
Special project complete.
All right. Sorry about all the typing. We were successful in our attempt to record the collision between Rothier 5 and its moon. The event was captured from several different angles and transmitted live throughout our space. Most importantly, our scientists under the leadership of Ipa Roko Ki were able to record a large amount of valuable physics data that will surely benefit our research. So we gained 200 experience. Of course, this is for a scientist that's already at level 5, and 150 physics research. Yeah, the Eyes of Sin. I think this has to do with the reset from the power outage. All right, so for some reason I'm going to Impran rather than Nihal, but I think the reason for that was, yeah, there's people occupying the food spaces. Just give me a second here. This makes sense. Okay, the volumes are going to get a little wacky for a bit. This will probably be a little bit closer to what you guys remember me as. But that's... unless I get something from the 3 people who I... Okay. Unless I get it from, like, the 3 people whose advice I listen to, I think I'm going to leave it at this. So if you're one of those people who I listen to, please tell me what's going on. Alright, I think I missed the opportunity to block these guys. Okay, good to hear. So what seems to happen, for whatever reason, my I always keep it at about 80%, which is still a little high. But Windows puts it back to 100 at random points. One of the small moonlets orbiting this gas giant has been identified as a promising mining site. A more thorough survey would have to be conducted to determine whether a mining operation would be feasible or not. So we'll research that. I think what I'm also going to do is I'm going to see if I can get a construction ship in the system nearby. I might try...
Star system charted.
I hate doing this, but I am going to build the starbase here, and then we'll maybe move this guy into Grunthrist. It's pretty unlikely that we're going to be able to ninja this stuff from the hive mind, but that's fine, because if it comes down to it, we'll just go to war with them later. Alright, so I need to spend some of that hard-earned energy, otherwise I'm going to lose the growth opportunity. Well, I can still put this off for a little bit longer. What else are we looking at? Oh yeah, so we were talking about Amazon. So yeah, so the idea here is that I'm building up my industrial base, and in order to do so, I'm actually willing to take on a deficit. And that's because I think the value of being able to sort of jumpstart this economy, jumpstart the ability to build things like mining platforms, you know,
Star
again,
system
I've got a
charted.
total of 19 energy spaces that have not yet been utilized. Potentially 23 if I take Rimok, but I'm not building my my plans around that. And of course, the expansion that I've been doing down here has sort of allowed me to curtail the growth of a potential rival. And what I now have access to, right? I've got 2 energy here, 2 energy here, 4 energy here, 4 energy, 2, 8, 4, 12. There's lots of opportunities to expand my energy production. So the important thing here, and this is again what governments do, because governments don't all, actually governments very rarely balance books in the sense of like we're totally paying off the debt this month. And that's just because they sort of know that through economic growth, you're going to be able to pay things off when it's a little bit more affordable for you. Hopefully that's a bit of what you were looking for, Vanguard Master, but if you want me to go into any more detail, if there's particular threads, and this applies for anyone, if there are any particular threads that get your attention whenever I'm talking about this stuff, just feel free to let me know, and I'll kind of carry them along as best as I can. Alright, a more detailed scan of one of the many natural satellites orbiting the gas giant of Yunduk 2 has revealed a deposit of precious metals and minerals that was overlooked in the initial survey. Although the moon is very small, it has a stable orbit around its primary and appears tectonically stable. And at Yunduk 2, there is +3 energy. Of course, that's fairly far away. It is something we'll almost certainly claim because, of course, we're going to take this size 16 tropical world. But I don't have any immediate expansion plans for there, so... I'm glad to hear it, Vanguard Master. And this is actually one thing, so for those of you who do enjoy Paradox games, it is one thing that I've really enjoyed about these kinds of games is being able to... Oh, thank you very much for the 7 bits, Random Guy Exists. How are you doing tonight? I think one of the things that I really like about the Paradox games are that you get to... Yep, they definitely took Holster there. So I don't think I'm going to be able to contain these guys, but we'll see. We'll do our best. The barren and this barren and lifeless world is showing signs of once having supported a biosphere. So we'll research that.
Construction complete.
This is a real shame because Altair has 10 minerals. So what I may wind up doing is sort of getting some borders along these guys, and then just making some claims and just gobbling up some of their systems. They're fairly easy to bully right now, so I can definitely live with that. Well, thank you very much for saying so, Random Guy Exists. I don't recall where you came from. Were you one of Ponce's viewers by any chance? I'm sorry, it's all running together. Oh, by the way, guys, we hit a milestone, 1,800 followers. It's not a particularly special milestone, in the sense that I know not a lot of people... celebrate that particular one, but a private goal that I've had for myself is to get to 2,000 followers. It's been slower to get to the 2,000 than the 1,000, but I don't know, if you guys...
Vessels upgraded.
Okay, good. If you guys would like to help along those lines, there's a few things you can do. Let friends know about the stream. You can host. You can... Ooh, I'm tempted to build a gene clinic here. I'm going to miss out on the immediate social research once we get to the higher levels, but I think it's worth it. So, our detailed survey of Yunduk 4 has revealed that it may once have supported life in the distant past. There are significant deposits of frozen water at the polar ice caps beneath the planet's surface. The existence of valley networks suggests that the water may have once flowed freely. Terraforming this planet would be theoretically possible, but we do not yet possess the technology to accomplish this monumental task within a realistic timeline. So, but yeah, with that in mind, you can share the stream with friends. You can host. There's
Colonization in
basically
progress.
the best thing that I can say is the most rewarding viewers have always been people who, even if they're not active in the chat, they connect with what's going on. You know, I do try and use these streams as an opportunity to explain things that I find interesting, you know, ideas that I value, and what's the best way to put that? I'm really trying to remember what... I think this might have been a special... There's something here for me. Yeah, I mean, just an opportunity to sort of explain ideas that I find
Star
interesting, but
system
maybe
charted.
are not always intuitive. Obviously, I'm able to talk about a few economics ideas in the context of games like Stellaris, because the you know, the mechanics kind of lend themselves to that kind of discussion. Like I was saying,
Technology secured.
Paradox games are interesting in how they model a particular period of history, and sort of what mechanics they choose to represent some of the big ideas from that period of time. And I can go into more detail on that in, you know, for some specific games, including Stellaris for that matter. But yeah, the biggest thing is that I know streamers are always looking for more viewers, and I do this as a hobby, so growth is not an important thing, but I set myself a private goal of 2,000 followers. And if you guys have anybody that you think would enjoy the stream, or just generally want to support, letting me know what you want to see streamed, stuff like that are all ways that you can help out. You want to stream just to bring people here? Well, that's great news, the Eyes of Sin. Incidentally, guys, Eyes of Sin suggested that she wanted me to voice something in a game that she'd play. I don't know when that's going to be happening, but that's something that's coming up. All right, destroyers. While larger than corvettes, destroyer hull configurations still make for comparatively nimble gunboats. So this is a big thing that happens with destroyers. You gain 10 to the fleet command limit. So for those of you who haven't played Stellaris for a while, you're no longer able to have doom stacks. It's also unavoidable. Well, I mean, you can have doom stacks if you want, but you can't put them all in one fleet. Admirals become much more important because you're going to have several fleets on the board at any given moment, and movement is generally slower. That's why I tend to play on fast speed unless I'm explaining something. So the command limit was 20, now it's 30, and what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to fill that command limit with destroyers, so that will allow me 5 destroyers to 20 corvettes. I don't have a particular motivation for doing that, other than that just happens to be what fits. Of course, I can only build 3 of them right now, but it's probably not a bad idea for me to just slowly file those things in. So technically the destroyers are my capital ships at the moment. So, and we can pick a new engineering task. Now, Schnook Schnook Trop is an industrial expert. I don't really have a lot of industrial projects for them to work on though, so I can go for a fairly early level 3 railgun. I can improve my energy weapon damage, which is actually, I really do like ship hull points, but I think the ability to put more hurt on the enemy is pretty good the way we are right now. It's one thing he was going to bring up. Last time that you played towards the late game, you had no use for anything smaller than a battleship because they just immediately died in any engagement. So we may not have combat occur this time around, Vanguard Master, but the game actually now has disengagement. So there will be ships that basically jump out of the battle in order to preserve their life and limb. That's one of the big new changes. In the meantime, let me get a couple of shout outs out of the way, because I know I did a bunch of like advertising at the start. Everybody loves that, right? But it does involve a couple of people. So for those of you who've been on the fence about Stellaris, or have you been waiting for it to go on sale, it's been on sale a couple of times since the last time those questions came up, but it's currently 60% off on Humble. And Jess is a Humble partner, so if you do exclamation mark, actually I'll do that right now, exclamation mark game, you can buy that or a number of other science fiction games, Elite Dangerous, No Man's Sky. There's a few rather good ones that are available. If you use that link, you will support Jesse Quill, who's obviously my mod and a good friend. And on top of that, there is a strategy bundle on right now. So that has Tooth and Tail, which we obviously covered on this stream earlier. It also has Endless Space, which I quite like, and I think if you enjoy Stellaris, Endless Space is a little bit closer to Civilization, a little bit more of a 4X game, but it's a very well done one. They also have Endless Legend and Dungeon of the Endless in that bundle. It's not just the Amplitude games, but they're the ones that come to mind immediately. Then, if that wasn't enough, if you want to support my stream, you can do exclamation mark GOG. I've just added that command. They have a sale going on right now where they basically got, so I think they were trying to improve their marketing algorithm. But basically, the idea here is that you can potentially win some stuff that is on your wish list, and then the most wish-listed games are currently on sale. So I picked up Stalker. That's a great example of some ways that you can sort of support the stream and help me out, is letting me know what you'd like to see played. So I was a little curious about Stalker, and one half of Weather Factory is very kind in terms of letting me know what they thought of the game, and it was enough to sort of cover me on any uncertainty that I had about the title. But there's a lot of great stuff on there. The Shadowrun series is on sale and at a very deep discount. I think Shadowrun Hong Kong is, I believe, something like $7 Canadian. It's a really great one. No. The British lady was the one to give the really good recommendation of me doing a live stream through Narnia, but Narnia looks like a bunch of broken glass on the ground now, unfortunately. So
Star system charted.
Anyways, lots of sales going on, lots of very good games. If you like sci-fi and you like strategy, I actually think Jess's partner link might be a little bit better for you. But if you do like classic games like I do, there is that affiliate link as well. By chance, we stumbled on a faint alien signal during the survey of this planet. The source appears to be a small object in orbit. The signal contains no message. Could it be a distress transponder? All right, let's catch on. So we've got... sorry, guys, I missed some of the chat. So doing all right. Hit on by a bird, which was rather... Stellaris is a fun game. Random Guys is absolutely right on Stellaris being worth the purchase. I strongly... A parrot owned by a friend system. It wolf whistled at you, then repeatedly made smoochy noises, took a particular interest in you. That is fantastic, the Eyes of Sin. Now the real question is, did it work? Because I think I could learn some lessons from that bird. I also talked a bit about Jess in terms of why you should buy stuff from her resources, but maybe I should actually talk about why she's worth watching.
Construction complete.
Jess recently did a charity stream for a basically a literally Save the Whales Save the Whales charity. I feel slightly weird saying that, but that is genuinely what she was streaming for. A lot of people have actually come into this stream because I've co-casted charity stuff with her, and people really seem to enjoy our rapport. Unfortunately, it's not been happening as often as it used to. But I can definitely say, if you guys enjoy more story-based things, I've done my best to try and get her to play Stellaris, but we're making small progress. She did play Dawn of War 3 for the Orca charity. But she definitely is somebody who, especially if you enjoy some of the Telltale stuff, or like Life is Strange, she's quite good for those, including games like The Last of Us, because she does have a unique perspective, and she really does put some of herself into those games. She talks about why she thinks the way that she does about particular decisions that characters may make. And I always point out that I tend to disagree with her on some of the conclusions of the game, or of some of the points that she's making. But this is one of the big things, is that obviously a couple of people inside chat talked about how they like it when I go into some depth of particular topics or particular ideas. And I think that's one thing that allows me to recommend Jessie Quill, is that, if you're looking for econ talk, you'll probably get that more from me. But Jess's background is in psychology, and of course she also has her own lived experience, and she does a really good job of relating that to the game that she's playing. And so if you like thematically the things that I deal with, I think Jess is a very strong recommendation that I can give in that regard. Obviously, if you don't like my stuff, you're probably not going to be here. But if you don't like my stuff, you may like Jess just because she's a better caster than me. Let's go for colonial viceroys. Our control over the colonies is dependent on us finding capable and loyal individuals that can be trusted to enforce the will of the government. What empire am I playing as? I am playing as space pirates. I am an authoritarian militarist. We took barbaric despoilers and slaver guilds. So the idea here is that this was a water world, scarce resources, which was governed by plunder and military might. And we've now come to the stars to sort of claim further plunder. Yes, please, whistle and make smoochy noises at you. Don't forget to ruffle my feathers, preen my wings, and click my beak at me. Well, I'm gonna have to make a new species then. An abandoned life pod was detected in close orbit of Heodem 4. It is covered in scorch marks, presumably from when the pod's mothership exploded. Preliminary scans suggest that it was built more than 5,000 years ago. The crew of the ISS Aiku managed to open the pod, revealing the withered remains of a reptilian alien clad in a resplendent uniform. Clutched in one of its claws was a small picture of another individual from the same race, possibly a mate or a revered leader. Interesting. All right. I will also, again, I gave Sin a bit short shrift, but she is also somebody who I would recommend, especially because I may be doing some collaborations with her. So if you want an idea of what the future holds, I'm sure. Oh, god damn it! Oh, hang on. Nope, we're gonna change this around. Let's go crazy with mining stations. Alright, that's enough. That's enough queued activity. Well, I don't know if it'll actually happen, Jess. She still needs to tell me the details, but I would be particularly interested in seeing what horrors await us. Looks like they're making their move on the Litharian Vortex. I actually really want Physigar because of the energy and mineral resources. Of course, the catch here is as long as I expand myself out reasonably well, like to sort of match them, I can just wait for the peace treaty to go down, and I continue to eat up their their land because they still have an inferior navy, and I can just sort of just go like so. If you look here, the Zum entity has a strength 750 fleet, and then on top of that we've got a 498 platform. So my current fleet is 1.8k. I could just run in and barrel them over. Now I'm not going to do that because I don't really want to lose my. I really don't really want to lose my my troops to that. But if it comes down to it, like I can absolutely bully them into giving me some of their territory. All right, so the Iswaira system has got pirates in it. Roving band of pirates has settled down in the uninhabited Iswaira system, which lies outside of my control. They're using the Lawless system as a base from which to raid our space. So one of the ways that Paradox keeps you from making awful borders like I'm doing right now is they give you a piracy risk. So piracy risk is caused by bordering systems that are not controlled by any galactic power. It is reduced by having a contiguous empire and by upgrading star bases. So the idea here is that the more infrastructure you build, the harder it is for these organizations to operate. But obviously I've got kind of a weird setup. I've got a bit of a weird setup here, right? So I'm going to wind up paying a bit for all of these gaps. So even though I don't particularly want this system, I'm probably going to colonize it just to eliminate the possibility of pirates spawning from there and such. But I have a navy that's more than capable of handling the scum, so we will send them off.
Technology secured.
And we've got the energy siphon. Adapting the Tinkiani method of siphoning energy from gaseous matter, it is possible to construct a weapon that drains energy from enemy ships. Alright, so I can clear tile blockers. It is a good 4 mineral tile. Looks like there's really only 2... Looks like there's really only 2 places that's going to work, but it doesn't hurt to get the tile blockers out of the way. I don't quite need the command limit, and I think I'm okay. I mean, it's cool if I could get the extra lifespan, because my people are getting a bit old. But I think I am going to double down on trying to expand out the industrial base. Speaking of flirty birds, you want me to do Hatoful Boyfriend? Could be worse.
Technology secured.
Alright, we've also got the improved reactor boosters. The discovery of fusion power allows for better reactor boosters to be fitted onto our ships. Alright,
Star
so
system
I'm tempted to go for
charted.
the Sentinel Point defense just because it's the cheapest. And I've kind of adopted this habit of going for small, fast technology in games like this. I don't have a great argument for why. Oh, these guys really picked the wrong. I'm almost certainly going to lose some stations to this. I don't have a full articulation why
Spaceport under attack.
going for the smaller technologies has worked out. One thing I do tend to notice is if I have not researched some lower level
Tile
technologies,
blocker
I don't
cleared.
get that inferior technology level as quickly. But the other thing that I've noticed is
Special
that
project complete.
I tend not to learn about the utility of some things that are not obvious from their descriptions in terms of how good they are. So I've been trying to, unless there's something that's like obviously great, I do try to go for the lowest cost research, just because I know over time building up my my research capabilities is going to allow me to catch up with some of those more advanced techs. Our archaeologists on Serikis 3A have learned that listening arrays built there were used to scan space for any signs of intelligent alien life, something that the Yut had never once encountered. After managing to partially restore power to a computer terminal, the archaeologists acquired a data disk with log files from the sensor arrays stretching over centuries. These logs suggest that this section of the galaxy was indeed devoid of sapient life at the time of the Yut Empire. An interesting find. We got 150 engineering research for that. I do need to find more opportunities to boost my society research. You can see that that's starting to lag quite a bit compared to my other other resources. What I'm going to be doing with this construction ship, it's going to be a bit of a Hail Mary, but I'm going to try and take these 3 territories and then just kind of move down to the bottom of the galaxy. Again, unlikely that it'll turn out, but I'll do my best.
Anomaly found.
We briefly detected some unusual energy readings emanating from this moon. It might have been a glitch in our systems, or it could be a sign of something more. Okay, so I don't think there's anything for me to research here anymore. So let's... I'm going to try and make things as easy as possible for my ships with regards to expanding in these areas. So let's take the most credible paths for expansion. Again, the name of this game is Containment, so I was most tempted to kind of go through this area first. But here's the idea. So if I can make it to Binjal, which is not too bad. I mean, the best is Fisgar, because at that point I've won the race. Let's assume that they get there before me. Well, the next step is going to be to go out and around and try and block them off here. They generally have... I mean, if they can get Figazar, or however you pronounce it, they really do have me at a disadvantage. I'm going to have to reorganize this, and I'm going to have to sort of move out and around like this. If I can take them here, then their only path to the rest of the galaxy is by going through these areas. But we'll see, right? They also probably don't have the resources that I do to dedicate to these. They don't have the resources to dedicate to these expansions like I do. So my base is actually doing a fairly respectable job of defending itself, but we've got We've got the good guys in now. Sorry, you're gonna have to watch this over the sun. So quick combat stats. You'll notice, by the way, so they're talking about the energy, the efficiency, so 97% efficient. We did 103% damage to Hull, apparently. But yeah, basically this will give you a bit of a ratio in terms of sort of, it's like, it's the damage that you've done and the accounting for the damage mitigation. So obviously I'm very laser heavy, which means that there's a lot of mitigation in terms of their shields. Whereas my hull damage and my armor damage was very effective because, well, you know, lasers are very good against hulls. So that's maybe not quite as enlightening as you'd normally think, but it does... why the hell is Rabbit sending me messages? Sorry, something just popped up on my computer. All right, let's see where we're going. I'm definitely running a little too far in this deficit. A microsingularity recently intersected Elvira 2b, passing straight through the core and emerging on the other side of the moon. The encounter does not seem to have caused any permanent damage, but it has altered the energy output of the planetary core slightly in a way that defies our current scientific models. Further study may be warranted. Fascinating. And we've got 3 science for our trouble. Alright, well, I'd rather them not fight the drones, so we will take a slight detour here. This is a fairly important exploration route that I'm going on because this will determine whether or not I'm able to get these resources quickly or not. I think I'm going to sort of spin them around and head out like this.
Complete.
Alright, so... continuing on with this race.
Star system charted.
Looks like they're building mining stations in here, so I'm going to have a bit of time to build this out. I'm sitting on a lot of influence, so I'm going to be able to expand these borders out reasonably well.
Attacking enemy assets.
I wonder if I get to see what the armies are like on their homeworld. I'm going to assume that their homeworld is the best defended. The Ip Armada has destroyed the pirate station in the Iswira system and recovered the strong room module. So we've got 50 energy. That's pretty big for me because I'm gonna need, that's basically gained me another 5 months of this expansion. And then 80 minerals, which, you know, that just goes into my stores. Alright, so where's their capital? 3 armies, huh? I don't think I'm going to be able to see what's going on these other planets. Yeah. So on Camdor, I'll get myself to 5 armies. It doesn't hurt to have some reserves. It does cost me energy, but I have been running into this really bad habit of not having a standing army ready, and that has come back to bite me a couple of times. I may also want to consider, I think I'm going to build another construction ship, because I think my expansion has gotten to a point where I need to, so I've got, this guy who's kind of taking care of the infrastructure, I've got somebody who's expanding the borders, and I think I'm going to have another ship to expand the borders and do, like, so it's basically going to be sort of minor construction, minor expansion out in sort of this direction and building things, as they come up. I think also here, this colony's almost done, which is going to free up some energy credits. I'm also going to upgrade this starport so I can put a trading base. The real question is whether or not I want to try colonizing this planet right away or not. I think it's going to be a little risky, but this will help me catch up We can figure out what to do with these guys later. Ideally, I can enslave them, but... Survey completed. Through our surveys of habitable worlds, our biologists have collected a vast amount of data on alien life forms. Many of our older theories on the development of life have been disproved, and our scientific community has had to build new models from scratch. Our most interesting findings are being displayed in the newly dedicated Museum of Exobiology on Camdor. The public is enthralled, and many donations have come in to aid the continued search of strange life forms. So good news for us, 500 social research, which we definitely need, and more importantly 500 energy credits, which translates to about 50 more months of running deficits in my case. So again, this is the important thing. I do have a plan for addressing the energy deficit. Notice we're actually now down to -6, and that's because we've been building up our mining bases. Now again, I'm going to give some of this back because I also want to get... Oh, we have a golden opportunity here. So if I can claim... Oh, I'm lacking the minerals. I am willing to sack one of these armies to get those resources back, because the sooner I can get this built, the sooner I'm able to block these guys. This is also going to slightly adjust maybe some of my expansion plans for these areas, because I'm probably going to want to, get some choke points sorted out in these regions, whereas up here I may not necessarily want to dedicate that same attention, but we'll sort that out at the time. In the meantime, what I'm going to do is I'm going to repair some of the lost infrastructure, and assuming I wanted to maximize my energy...
Star system charted.
Amortizer...
Anomaly found.
The mineral compositions of NM1A does not match projections. I think what I'm probably going to wind up doing here is building an outpost here, 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 and here, and that should get me into a nice energy surplus. Again, it's really important to maintain the influence in this particular case, although it's a fairly easy job. It's a fairly easy job in this case, just because I have a happy faction, and my society is fairly uniform in this regard. I am really looking for the point where these guys become inferior to me, because that'll be the point where I vassalize them. I wouldn't necessarily want to take over the homeworlds of a hive mind, because that just means I exterminate their. That just means that I exterminate their
foreign power is hailing us.
Their pops. But with, just in terms of, of having somebody who can maybe toss a couple of extra ships in, or people who will work resources or something along these lines, I'm okay with that. After successfully translating their language, we have established communications with the Glost Wirani autocracy. I think it's these guys. Yeah. Diplomatic channels are now open and hostilities have been terminated. You gain... Incidentally, so I didn't used to research... oh, actually, apparently I never did this mission. I tend to do these very quickly because you do gain the 65 influence, and because you claim systems through influence, you obviously that's a nice little feather in the cap in terms of being able to achieve some of your expansion goals. Vanguard Master says, so what would be the downside of completely taking over a different civ as opposed to making them a client? Well, specifically for the hive mind, I would, if you take over a planet that's controlled by a hive mind, you systematically destroy their population, which means that you are no longer... So your own people can work those tiles, they can work those resources, but of course this is a savannah world, which my people can't survive on. The traditions also will give you some options. So you can't vassalize someone until you gain the domination tradition. So probably the biggest benefits here are that the more vassals you have, the higher the unity output with vassal acculturation. Pops of vassals can go towards your naval capacity. And you can also set up tributaries, which in this case, additional income. I might actually set them up as a tributary, but I do kind of prefer the idea of them being a vassal. But we can figure that out later. One nice thing here too, right, is that if I can box them in, that allows a certain level of growth, but I haven't given up like the real plum positions. Like this is a fait accompli. So I've already got, the nice energy resources coming from here, and this really does allow me to put the herd on. I'm going to be able to sort of close this gap, and at that point I'm going to just have to decide what's the best plan for sort of slowly blobbing out and sort of taking up this available area, because this is going to be particularly difficult to defend, especially from pirates. In fact, there's a good argument that because this is an ocean world, even though it's size 10, I'm probably going to want to colonize that relatively quickly, because I'll be able to put a starbase there and sort of house ships, and I'll have a second fleet to sort of take care of the periphery. So thank you very much for the 500 bits, Eyes of Sin. I really appreciate that. Again, I don't like talking about the donation and the bits as much, but it's been very encouraging lately that more people have been contributing things like subs and bits. So thank you for that, especially because you have given so much already. Another thing that's worth mentioning, Vanguard Master, it's a little bit like sectors in this game. You cannot underestimate how helpful it is to have the AI control certain elements of your empire. So the only reason I'm doing this is to plug up a gap. I'll probably get along with these guys. We are the Glost Winari Autocracy, minions of the wise overlord Selfish One. Scytheth One. Our aim is to improve ourselves through the use of technology, and whether you agree with those goals or not, I trust you will remain amicable neighbors. Our warriors salute you, Glostwerny. Alright, so we should get along relatively well with them, and they're also reasonably strong. Well, not really, but they don't like us because we're barbaric despoilers, so... Right, Leviathan down. Thorough scans have revealed the cause of Einem 1A's odd metal consumption. The moon is a crash site of a dozen massive spaceships, larger than anything that we could have imagined. Their construction dates back several million years. These materials will surely come in handy, and +2 on Einem. And it's very likely that we will claim that, because we really only need to expand out 2 systems before we can head there. Alpine world, so we're not going to be able to claim that.
Influence expanded.
Oop. All right. So we're almost at a point where we can sustain ourselves energy-wise again, which is good news. And I'm not quite sure I want to decide between food and minerals yet. So that hasn't changed where you can have too many territories under your direct control without increasing. Yes, there's still... I think our peace treaty... Nope. Truce is still in place. All right, now... I was sort of preparing for the worst, so my science ship is going to be a little slow for investigation, but that's fine because this actually gives me an opportunity to be building some mining stations. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to do something a little counterintuitive. I'm going to start building on the mineral resources first, and that's just because I'll get a nice little surprise when I'm able to afford everything. Still don't have off-world trading company, so I can't build anything there. I did upgrade Impan, I think. Not quite. I'm going to take a big hit on my energy resources in a little bit as we colonize Nihal, but again, it's one sort of measure to keep in mind is that I've been spending so much time expanding out my my navy, and that definitely paid off. But you can compare that to what these other species have done, right? So you can take a look.
Star system
Here they've got
charted.
4 planets. These guys have 3. Of course, I was able to gobble up a lot of their territory. Through conquest, which is why I put so much effort into the fleet. But this is the time to sort of pay that debt. I do need to make sure that I'm able to sort of reasonably catch up in terms of planetary holdings, and that's going to mean, in particular, quite a few energy outlays in the form of things like colony ships and expansion and that. But there are definitely ways that I can do that in a somewhat gentle fashion. Impan, again, it's close enough to my capital, which has shipyards. So for Impan, I'm just going to build another trading hub and anchorage. So that'll be a net of 3 energy that I get for building the upgrade. Well, I mean, I also have to pay for the upgrade, so it's actually more a net upgrade of 2 when I consider the fact that I've expanded this out. But that will also that'll be offset a little bit when they'll be offset a bit when I build the off-world trading company. I don't have the technology for that yet, but again, the big thing about this is I'm never scared of running these deficits so long as I have a very clear path for getting out of the losses. And the other big thing about that anchorage, of course, is that I'm finally going to be able to field a full 30 strength armada, and we can start worrying about how we're going to expand our naval capacity. Another thing I should keep in mind about Impan, once I've got those basic buildings down, once I do some upgrades, I'm probably going to want to build a little bit more strength, because traditionally the wormhole areas are ones where you want to build some fairly heavy defenses so that nasty people can't kind of jump through and hurt you. Again, that's a little far off. I don't think anybody's going to be researching wormhole technology before me at this current pace. You really enjoyed that feature. It makes you play it a different way from other games. Yeah, well, I think this is a little bit of a lesson from Crusader Kings as well, which is it's not fun to play a game where you're micromanaging everything. All right, the Glossverni Octocracy entered into a non-aggression pact with the Tecarus Matrix. I don't think that's my Tecarus, though. Sensors pick up unexpected activity from an isolated point on Sirma 5's frozen surface.
Star system charted.
Oh, these guys are undeniably inferior. It's really tempting to try and put like a border up against these guys, but I just don't see a way of being able to do that.
Star system charted.
So there's a small advantage to having slow-growing pops, and that's the fact that they grow slow. It's the fact that
Complete.
I'm not rushing as much to build all these other things for them. All right, more mineral resources, and then we should be able to go to the energy.
Construction complete.
Yeah. This guy's out of a job, so what do I want to do with you? Well, you're going to build more mining stations. Again, I'm still sort of prioritizing minerals over energy, and that's just basically, one, it gives me the most pessimistic scenario for energy credits, but it also gives me a few more turns where I'm generating a lot of minerals, which of course means that I'm going to be able to build more of these bases. And that's why I've built the third construction ship. I don't think actually I might have the influence to sustain it. I don't know if I'd be able to build like a 4th one and be able to sustain everything that I wanted to do. But I've noticed that in the new patch I tend to build quite a few more civilian ships than I used to. Never really got any good at Crusader Kings 2, it's similar in gameplay to this, but it had some unique features that you could never wrap your head around. Well, I think the best description of Crusader Kings 2 is that it's difficult to learn and easy to master. I definitely feel when I play that game that there are points where I know I'm not really going to be able to lose anymore. But it's one that I think is also quite difficult for people to pick up on And I honestly, I think it's because it's one of the older games, right? It's I mean, it's over 5 years old now, and it's a very good game. I mean, it gives you an idea. I mean, just imagine what Stellaris is going to look like in 5 years, right? But, sorry, I need to stop saying right at the end of everything. But just imagine what Stellaris will look like in 5 years. They've already talked about the plans for espionage and all of these other features that it's sort of like it'd be nice to have, and they're just trying to parcel out what the what the roadmap looks like. And my guess is that if there's I believe a new IP is going to be announced at PDXCon. If they announce a new game from an established series, it's going to be Crusader Kings 3. I'm quite convinced that Crusader Kings 3 is coming, and it will be, I want to say soon, but the important thing to remember here is that soon is not soon in the way that you and I mean. It's like soon in terms of game development soon. And I have a few reasons for thinking that. But there's two things that I know. I think Paradox Development Studio is definitely focused on making new IPs. And I think they are definitely interested in making base games that are well supported for the long run. So I don't think you're going to see a Europa Universalis 5 for a very long time. Maybe Victoria 3. I don't think that's going to happen at the time that most people think it's going to happen. I don't think they have any immediate plans for a Victoria 3. But I definitely think there are plans for a Crusader Kings 3. And I can go into those reasons if you want, but we'll find out in PDXCon. I can e-crow. Although I believe there's at least one more expansion for Crusader Kings 2 coming out. I think the big thing that they haven't done yet is Theocracies, but I think the other question is whether or not they have any intention of doing them, because Heinrich Furrius did not seem particularly excited by the prospect of doing Theocracies. Alright, Salty. Science ship ISS Ba Sing came up short with regards to its original mission of investigating possible activity on the frozen surface of Sirma 5, but there's seemingly nothing but of note but ice and rock. However, Science Officer Ratsich Trapp, a self-proclaimed gourmet chef and history buff. Hey, it's Johnny. Stockholm in May sounds fun. You thinking of getting a ticket? Self-proclaimed gourmet chef and history buff claims to have made an important discovery. A chemical compound found in the surface ice layers of several regions of Sirma 5 is supposedly closely related to Zuccocan stellar salt, an ingredient integral to many traditional Zuccocan dishes and thought extinct on Camdor. It has long been speculated that Zuccocan stellar salt was never native to our homeworld, but was brought to the surface by some meteorite impacts in the distant past. The science officer's discovery on Sirma 5 lends some credence to this theory, though Ratch Top leans heavily on the properties described in ancient cookbooks predating modern chemistry to prove the saline connection. Whether the salt, analyzed and synthesized, actually tastes like the Zuccocan stellar salt of old is ultimately of little consequence. Just the idea of traditional foods now possessing more historically accurate flavor profiles is bound to stimulate both the Zuccocan economy and palate. Savory. I really like that event. Hello, Sujin Hao. Oh, and here I thought that was me. We have encountered some form of alien vessels in the Ramus system. These strange objects have been flagged as Ramus until we can learn more about them. We should proceed with caution. Well, let's learn more about them in 2 months. So if that was the translation that Jess wrote there, I am neither. I am an authoritarian militarist, I am a barbaric despoiler, and I am using slaver guilds as a complement to the raiding civic. However, I don't have any neighbors that really allow me to raid. I don't think hive minds make particularly good slaves, so we haven't been able to do much.
Anomaly found.
A colossal impact crater hints that something big collided with the surface of this moon once.
Colonization in progress. Special project complete.
After successfully translating their language, we have established communications with the independent space station of Zuracorp. Now, this is particularly nice because if I get desperate for my energy, I'll be able to trade for it. But more importantly, this is for the influence, because I can really start going crazy on the expansion north. I think what I'm going to do for the ship that's doing this expansion, I'm basically going to expand one, build up, expand one, build up, expand one, build up. I'm going to pursue that kind of a strategy just to make sure that I can sort of keep my main focus down here. Welcome to Zuracorp. We're a business conglomerate operating in the out of the Ramus system, specializing in the trade of minerals, food, and energy, the very building blocks of civilization, as we say here at Zuracorp. Please do not hesitate to contact us if you're interested in making a good deal. Oh, that's a shame, the Isaacin. I hear they are unimaginably handsome. Actually, as I am very fond of saying, I aspire to be the world's greatest economist, economist, lover, and horse rider. Unfortunately, things are not going so well with the horses.
Star system charted.
But I hear Canadians can do all three. That line is also a lot more clever if you don't stumble over it. Alright, I do kind of need the extra social research. I hate it when it tells me that I can build buildings, but I think that makes sense. I am also going to double down on food. Part of that's just to get to the cap so that we can sort of expand a little bit faster. What else? Yeah, I'm okay with all of these. Asteroid collision. A large mineral-rich asteroid collided with Sirma 4A at some point during the previous 1,000 years in what must have been a major impact event. An abundance of minerals can now be found on the moon in the vicinity of the impact crater. Alright, so this is going to be... Yeah, this is a pretty rich part of the galaxy. I think probably what I'm going to do is I'm going to expand out to Ozelius, and then I'm actually going to move along here just so I can gobble up these tasty resources. A fortuitous event. Oh, yes, we've got research. Uranic crystals have rare reflective properties that enhance the effectiveness of energy weapons. Don't have any in our systems right now, which is all the more reason to move up to the Ilfor system. And Starhold is very tempting because I do need to build up my capacity in that regard, but we just have so many other options. I'll go for the cheapest, which is advanced missiles. I don't feel particularly good about that, though. Oop, and I've got an idle science ship. That is no good at all. Alright. We're all good for this part of the galaxy. So what I think I'm going to do, I'm just going to carve this off a little bit like I would for normal expansion. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of cut this off like this and then sort of head back to this zone so that I can then take care of the next part. One of the reasons I wanted to play on an elliptical map is because I would like to learn to get a little bit better at choke points on maps like this. And I think one strategy I'm going to do in terms of my exploration. So some of these borders have been determined largely by the... they've been determined largely by the... how do I put this? Like just the chance of whatever star system I was in at the time. So I'm trying to treat it like these. So, I mean, again, if you sort of follow borders like
Star
this, some of
system
these are
charted.
natural choke points, some of them aren't, and I'm not really going to find out what they are until the time comes down. But you can sort of see this as a natural expansion, right? So we move out. I think actually maybe it would be. No, this is fairly right. Like, this is a straight line. We've got new technology. So you've kind of got this straight line here, and it's like, okay, well, you know, we lost that with the race for the rival, so maybe this will be our new point. Like, this is a fairly decent place to put Starbase, for instance. And I'm trying to treat it like that and just say it's like, okay, all the zones in the middle, if I get access to them, great. If I don't, then there's no point in researching them. Anyway, Sentinel Point defense, the best defense is a good offense. Colony development speed is very tempting, but basic combat roles is even more tempting and cheap, so we'll go for that.
Construction complete.
All right, so they're done their
Anomaly
anchorage.
found.
I can get the remaining upgrades for my fleet, so we'll pump out another pair of destroyers. And efforts to map the surface of this planet have identified a strange mountain formation in the southern hemisphere. It does not appear to have formed naturally. Alright, so these guys I'm still holding out hope that we'll get along with them, so I'm not going to block. So one of the things that'll happen... Ooh, they have a Stargate. Also, I might move into the natural wormhole with them. So we'll see what happens. I know that things are not going to... Things are not going to get better with them if I block the zone, and right now they're not exploring any of my territory, so I don't lose anything by ignoring them for now. Okay, we'll get you to build a research station, then we'll move up to claim this territory. But if they start moving into my territory or something like that, I'll probably block them off. But I'm allowing for the possibility that I may befriend them at some point. In the meantime, let's take a quick look at these guys. They're still inferior on fleet power. I could...
Construction.
So you have 3 more years before I can declare war on them. What was previously thought to be assorted mountains in the southern hemisphere of Betelgeuse 3 have been identified as the massive skeletal remains of a single colossal alien life form. The bones have been dated as 3.4 billion years old, but our scientists have ruled out that Betelgeuse 3 could have supported life on that scale at any point in the planet's history. Science officer Lishmi Zahani has prepared a special research project to delve further into this mystery.
Situation log updated.
Let's see what they're looking at. It's quite alright to do then. This is going to be one of my... I'm okay with this exploration being slow, because this is me being ambitious and going a little snakier than I would normally like for borders. But again, if I have a chance of taking Altair with its 10 mineral resources, I'd like that opportunity if I can. And just generally to sort of eat the lunch of the Zum. In the meantime, let's get you building more mining stations. Oh, it's too poor.
Construction complete.
Still too poor. I'm okay with where this is going for now. One of our destroyers is on its way. We'll upgrade for the 115. That's gonna eat up some of my resources, but so be it. Oh yes, and I would like one more army for 5. It's not too exciting, but what I'm really comparing this to is their capital world if I ever needed to invade it. So now they're up to 6, so I'm probably at some point going to want to upgrade this to 10, but I'll be patient on that, because I can... The important thing here is that building armies need to be maintained with energy credits. You need to pay your troops, right? So
Construction complete.
I'm a bit conscious of that, and especially if I get the chance to,
Star system charted.
build new
Star system
star bases,
charted.
build new mining stations, things like that. I'm obviously going to want to take those opportunities more than anything else. For instance, Eglor, I'll probably take fairly early on, just so that I know I have another planet to colonize. Hey, the exception. I think I'm ready to go up to 3. Yeah, so as long as I have sort of construction ships building what I need, I'll shuffle in another army. What I might do actually is make it 5 armies on each planet. So on Ampaldir, which is my second colonized planet, maybe start building some assault armies there in case things come up, and that'll be a way. Once the time for the invasion comes, obviously we all jump on Hif and beat them to a pulp. But for the meantime, just being able to maintain a garrison sort of spread throughout my system seems like a fairly sensible thing to do. I'm also debating on, it's only 2 extra social research, so it's probably not useful. Hey, Johnny Big Time! Are you doing God of War? I always love this moment because Johnny Big Time is a hell of a streamer. If you guys like my stuff, and it seems like we had a large number of people that actually stopped watching recently, so I don't know. Maybe you don't like watching my stuff. We've got Johnny Big Time in here, though. If you like my stuff, please, 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 please watch Johnny Big Time. He is an amazing caster. He's got a tremendous camera presence. He is he's a really entertaining guy. Like I said, there was one, I want to say this now, long after the fact, there was actually only one cast where I was sort of like, he didn't have 100%. It was a Fortnite cast. I'm not even going to say which one. But like, even then, that was like 80% Johnny Big Time. And 80% Johnny Big Time is 200% System Chalk. He is, he's an incredible guy. He's got a great attitude. He has got a really entertaining stream. Totally different from mine. Plays a lot of more action-oriented stuff. He always keeps he always keeps things going. I really like the pacing of his cast. He's again, he knows how to keep an audience. He knows how to entertain. I think it's a tremendous shame that more people do not watch him, although he's got more people watching him at the end of his cast than the time I was streaming. So he is growing, and if I can encourage even one of you to check out his channel, he has done everything from XCOM to Fortnite to God of War. I know at some point he's going to do Wolfenstein, and we're going to do Spy Party together. In fact, depending on oh, let me see this clip that Dublin Poppy put up.
The full truth of this nightmare yet remains hidden. Quick,
Yeah.
the full truth of this nightmare yet remains hidden.
You know what? I'm going to show you guys a real Johnny Big Time clip, because I didn't like that one. We're going to go to all. And I really like this one.
Well, the police are after us, right? Oh, shit. Oh, look at that. Pop the perfect wheelie. Ah! Okay, we're alright. We're gonna weave in and out of these cones to escape the police. They can't follow this shit up. Look at that. Olympic style. Ah!
I think this is one of the first clips I ever did of Johnny Big Time. Yeah, so Johnny is an incredibly entertaining caster. He can stream anything, and he can stream it well. He's done a little bit of Stellaris. He hasn't done it online, but I know he's a little bit like me in the sense that he wants to learn games and engage them on sort of their own terms, which is something I respect. Like, obviously, I despise backseat gaming, and I've said, it's like, you know, if you have any questions, let me know. But Johnny obviously wants to learn the game on his own, so like I need to just shut up and let him learn. But again, I love playing games with him. We spent way too much time playing Spy Party on the weekend, but it was a ton of fun. Actually, depending on what time you go to bed tonight, Johnny, I might be willing to do a little bit of overtime on my cast, and we'll switch out of Stellaris into Spy Party if you're up for it. If not, like, I know you've just done a big cast and you may not be able to do that, but we can try and work it out if you want. I'm about halfway through. But yeah, please do check out Johnny Big Time. He's really an incredible caster, and it's always a lot of fun to have him in here. He's one of the people. There's a few people in the channel at the moment, actually, who, if they say you did a good cast, I feel great, and if if they say you weren't at your best, then it's like, oh, okay, I need to get better. And Johnny Big Time is really one of the people who can do that, because I think he's just so entertaining on his own. Okay, maybe we'll take a rain check on that then, Johnny, because I think I've probably got like another probably an hour and like 15 minutes left in Stellaris for sure. But we definitely, I know we've got some plans for Spy Party in the future anyway, so if you got work in the morning, I wouldn't put too much time in, but the spy game's going to be there whenever we want it. So anyways, special project completed. Our continued studies into the massive skeletal remains on Betelgeuse 3 have managed to shed some light on how the creature ended up on the planet. There's a very faint residual energy reading that indicates some kind of dimensional portal existed briefly towards the rear of the skeleton. Science officer Linshmi Zahani theorizes that the creature passed through this gateway from another dimension only to quickly perish in the hostile environment of Betelgeuse 3. Why it did this and where it came from are questions that may never be answered. So we gained 150 physics research, and the scientist gained 200 experience.
Vessels upgraded.
Very true, Johnny. Very true. Do you have a spaceport here yet? Yes. Yes, I do. Takes a long time to do these upgrades, so I might as well... I just don't care about my economy at all. We're receiving transmission from an independent space station of the Curator Order. They appear to have successfully translated our language. Note, by the way, that it's 46 influence. I believe that's because they translated my language, not the other way around. That's another reason for you to dedicate the science towards bringing up contacts. Greetings, Star Travelers. We are the Curators. Our ancient order was established eons ago by the various galactic powers in ascendancy at the time. We were dedicated towards the preservation of all knowledge in an effort to safeguard the galaxy from descending into yet another dark age of mass extinction and barbarism. We failed. Few of us remain today, but we are no less committed to our sacred mission than our predecessors were, and are willing to share some of our knowledge with you for a price. Well met! So some immediate goals that I'll have, once I expand out my natural borders, I'm going to start dedicating my fleets to taking out these ancient mining drones. They're not too hard of a target, but I don't really want to move my fleets on them at the moment just because there's no real gain.
Star system
As before, we'll
charted.
start with the mining, or the mineral resources, and then boost up our energy. We will be okay on this planet for a
Construction
while,
complete.
and we'll be
Star
okay on this
system
planet
charted.
for a while there as well. Okay. I'm going to build a starbase on Fuldara, mostly just because I can afford it, and I think when we look at the pirate risk. Oh, 19. Actually, that's not as bad as I thought it would be, but there's still a benefit to closing up these gaps. Also notice I'm not building a lot. So obviously there's some development that's happened on these planets because I took them from the Zum. But you'll notice that I've not been developing these tiles. Part of the reason for this is because I want to do relatively rapid expansion. The other reason is I know if pirates spawn in this area right now, I'm not going to be able to defend myself. So I will eventually build a colony ship to get Elgor into the fold, but I don't have an infinite amount of energy, and I've been running these deficits basically since before the cast began, so at some point I'm going to need to calm down a little bit on that. There are signs of activity by an ancient precursor civilization on this inhospitable rock. Sounds good. Alright, so doing the same thing we said we were going to do with this guy, which is basically build a starbase, build up the resources, build a starbase, build up the resources. The main focus of this one is going to be on energy resources, so we're going to move to these systems first, but I do also want that strategic resource relatively quickly.
Construction complete.
Right. It's also worth remembering that for each starbase that I build and I don't develop the resources on, that's a negative to my energy reserves. So if you do that kind of infinite expansion like I'm doing right now without building up any of these resources, you do ultimately pay for it in the sense that your empire becomes very difficult to maintain. Wait, you're about to make 10 different... Am I missing something? Oh, for everyone who follows Johnny, you'll write another... Yacht Cruiser. What remains of the Yacht Cruiser has been found in orbit around Izar 4. It seems to have fallen victim to weapons fire, but given the extreme age of the Hulk, it will be difficult to be certain. There is no indication that the ship was ever equipped with an FTL drive. It must have traveled between the stars at sublight speeds.
Situation log
Alright, well,
updated.
I definitely want more... artifacts. One thing that Apocalypse did was it made the homeworld
Technology secured.
storyline a lot easier to complete. Fusion missiles. These are updated space-to-space missiles, which have more powerful fusion warheads and improved flight performance. So I think I'm still going to go for the cheap stuff, and in this case it looks like it's bonus Corvette hull points.
Complete.
Survivability is always nice, and that's one of the big reasons I didn't bother with... it's one of the big reasons I didn't bother with... I'm getting to a bit of a scary spot with my energy
Star system
resources.
charted.
But I think we'll be able to manage. Again, in an emergency, I'm just going to be able to develop some of the existing resources that I have. I just would prefer to avoid that kind of expenditure. Basically, if I can take my empire and I can sort of build it out to its...
Technology
I'm
secured.
going to take a quick look at my leader menu as well. Okay, with the advent of clean fusion, automation, and matter compression technologies, it was only a matter of time before mountaintop removal became mountain range removal. Alright, this is pretty much
Special
a...
project complete.
Archaeology project completed. The archaeologists investigating the derelict Yacht Cruiser above Izar 4 have transmitted their report. There are 2 large cryo chambers in the cruiser's midsection, designed to house 1 Yacht each in suspended animation. Given the massive size of Yacht individuals, this was apparently their standard crew complement on vessels of this size. No Yacht remains were found anywhere on the ship, but the archaeologists managed to recover logs from a computer that monitored the life signs and medical condition of the crew. It has provided valuable data on Yacht physiology. We gained 150 engineering and another
Construction complete.
So, even though I have cheaper alternatives, I'm going to do the off-world trading company because that's a bit of a multiplier to everything that I have on my existing star bases. So I'm going to be able to realize those gains multiple times. A small rectangular object on the surface of this planet is deflecting all scanning beams like a mirror. Our sensors are unable to determine its material composition. Research it. And we also gained our basic combat rolls, so quite a few upgrades to do on my armada right now. Active matrices tuned for specific combat-centric tasks greatly improve engagement efficiency. And looks like everything more or less costs the same. I definitely would like Hyperdrive 2. That's just because faster movement means that I'm going to be able to get to places faster, and that's going to be particularly important until I build my my second base. All right, a lot of idle
expanded.
construction ships. So the real question is whether or not I want to be expanding my borders even further. I don't think that's a terrible idea, actually. I could also build up the infrastructure here, but I think we're... Oop. All right, so scientists are starting to die. Actually, I think what I'm going to start doing is I'm going to be expanding out in 3 directions. So 2 of the ships, one up here and one over here, are basically going to expand, build, expand, build. And then this one's going to be pure expansion until we can get either the 10 mineral area or we just stop building out. I'm okay seeding this to the Zum because 1, you know, this is my choke point anyway. And then number 2, I mean, if I'm gonna go to war with them, they're already able to go and like, I'm more worried about fighting these things off. Hif is actually a really good choke point. The thing is, it's the capital though, so if I seize that, I kind of, you know, I already have a big lead on the war. But again, I don't have a whole lot to fear from them, so. The Eyes of Sin, thank you very much for that host. Anyways, time to do a little bit of shuffling. So we'll put my level 5, scientist to work, and we'll hire a new scientist. So I've got 7 of 12. I'm slightly tempted to hire another. I was slightly tempted to hire another scientist, but I can't afford that right now, so we'll hold off.
Star system charted.
All right, so full expansion here. Notice we're on a positive. That's because we finished colonizing the world. I'm not gonna colonize this planet quite yet. I actually need to get my reserves back up, but this is gonna be a great opportunity for me to really realize the gains from the from sort of this this mining, and then we're actually going to be hitting the really sweet expansion in the next couple of months. While conducting surface scans on Falmare 1, Science Officer Ratch Trop and the crew of the ISS Ba Sing discovered what appears to be an artificially carved slab of rock covered in alien writing. They have not detected any other signs of alien activity on the planet, and exactly how the mural came to be here is a mystery. We have prepared a special project to translate the text.
Situation log updated.
All right. This is
Construction
right on
complete.
time for some expansion. It's actually fairly important that I do this now because it's possible that these guys may cut me off here. The thing is, I have kind of been spoiling for a fight with them. I could actually theoretically vassalize them.
Construction complete. Star
Upgrade
system
done.
charted. Vessels upgraded.
So I could purge this pop. Don't have a whole lot going for them at the moment, to be totally honest.
Construction complete.
But I can always use more slaves. So, in the meantime, we've encountered some form of alien vessel on the Zari system. These strange objects have been flagged as the Kai aliens until we can learn more about them. Well, I was gonna say, who knows what the translation of a dick pic would be? Eyes have said. All right, so for several months now, we've received scattered reports of small numbers of alien mercenaries and privateers operating on the frontiers of space. They call themselves the Skrek and are apparently exiles from a nomadic warrior culture inhabiting overcrowded space stations. Oh, these are the space barbarians. Okay, this is fairly important for me to know, because this is also going to mean potential rivals and potential limits on my expansion. So I'm probably going to want to focus quite a bit of attention on expanding to the east, just to make sure that these guys don't eat up too much of my territory. But I also want to be careful about the Skrek Reavers, because I don't want to be on the path to one of their raiding parties. Alright, their passage near our space proceeded without incident, but they warned us against trespassing in Safaban. There is no Skrek central government to speak of, but their various factions are engaged in constant infighting and often launch raids against neighboring star systems. Indeed, given their vast population and space-based production capability, the Skrek would likely be a significant galactic power if they ever stopped killing each other. We are the Skrek, and we are the favored servants of She of the Void, the all-seeing, the ever-knowing, and above all vengeful supreme being that lords over space. It was she that bade us to give up our ancestral planetary home eons ago and take up residence in her eternal domain, the cold depths of space, so that we could hunt unbelievers and appease her through sacrifice. Alas, the doctrinal wars have sapped our strength, and we are now a divided people, struggling to divine the true path she would have us walk. Yet her favor can be won through the destruction of alien heretics, even at the behest of other heretics. Thus, many of our warriors are willing to fight your battles for a price. They seem fun.
Star system
All right.
charted.
So our goal of sort of containing the Zum
Special project complete.
has succeeded. Science officer Rausch Top has managed to partially translate the alien mural discovered on Falmer 1. It is a memorial for an extinct alien race that once maintained a small interstellar empire in this region of the galaxy. They were apparently exterminated by the creators of the mural, a fact that they seem to regret. Given that the mural has been dated to be in excess of 300 million years old, it is likely its creators are also extinct by now. Perhaps most interesting of all is that the material the mural was made of. Despite its age, it is in remarkably good condition. More engineering research. Now, sadly, Altar is no longer an expansion option for us.
Complete.
So unless we find something really special on this planet, I think Izar will be sort of the limit to my expansion in Zum space, and we're instead going to explore options in terms of containing the Raltec. So they don't like me because they're xenophobic and I'm a barbaric despoiler, which is a shame because I seem like I could really get along with them. And what kind of worlds do they like? They like arid worlds. So they are definitely going to want to expand up here. Oh, wait. In reply to Sin's comment that our marks of interstellar exploration would be like giant penis murals, I need to talk about my mural and how it would be the biggest, most beautiful mural you would ever see.
Charted.
A wavering signal haunts Falmer 4, though it does not seem to originate from the planet's surface. I really want to build an Autothon monument, but it'd be great for these empty tiles with a toxic kelp. In the meantime, I'm going to build a power plant. I don't think I'm going to complain about having more power. And I'm going to leave the rest of it alone. But I am going to upgrade this physics lab. Also this one. Alright, my construction ships are idle, so again I said I was going to basically expand, upgrade, or expand, develop. Alright. I do need to start making some decisions about how I'm going to expand here. some of that's going to be dependent on how this science ship explores. So we'll hold off on this one for now, and instead we'll start focusing on northern expansion. Okay, so let's figure out what I'm going to do with these guys. Ideally for defense, this is a pretty good system to have. Okay, so if I hang on to... See, a lot of my choke points are actually really far in. I think I need to reconsider some of these. In the meantime, though, I do have the influence to do some expansions. So let's go to... Out of what I've claimed, it actually has to be as far as Com. Like Mount Rushmore, Eyes of Sin. You got it exactly.
Star system charted.
Only out of dicks. Alright, the lawless Chiminal system has become a safe haven for an increasing number of pirate smugglers and various other criminal elements. These outlaws are based beyond the current boundaries of civilized space, but they frequently venture into our systems in search of victims. Where the hell is this again? Oh, damn it. This is why I did not build anything here. Must be dealt with. The asteroid recently suffered an impact from another body within the asteroid belt, which resulted in a slightly changed orbit and a massive crater on the surface. We'll research it. Research it. I think you're referring to the Washington Monument, Jess, but yes. Oh, in the meantime, let's...
Station under attack.
Let's focus on building my second navy. So we've got 34 available, and I think right now we've got sort of, yeah, it's 5. So it's like, in terms of command points, it's like, I've doubled the number of corvettes in terms of destroyers. So like basically for every destroyer I build, I really should be building like 4 corvettes. But I don't have the capacity for that quite yet. But anyways, I'm gonna follow that generally, and 1 destroyer and 2 corvettes. It'll be the start of a new navy. It'll take me a while to get these upgrades properly done. Although I can probably start upgrading this base. Well, not with my current mineral count, but we will in a minute. So smaller ships are worth building later on, or is it big blobs of the biggest ships with the biggest guns like it used to be? I'm not 100% sure on that, Vanguard Master. I did have sort of I had my own composition. So people online seem to say that you basically just build only battleships at the end, and that may be true. I've built sort of tiered fleets with lots of different components myself. But the big thing is that my fleets were always so much... No problem, Yep. It's great to see you as always. Like, my fleets were already so much more powerful than what they were facing. I mean, even when the Unbidden came, like, the Unbidden really smacked me around, but I did not need anybody else's alliance. Like, I was able to take them on my own. I was at a point where I was basically eating up fallen empires. And, like, it was not a worry to me that 2 of them declared war on me at the same time. So at that point, like, I don't really know. I don't think it was my navies that was really... Like, I think I could have had a navy of corvettes, and just the numbers were so large that it didn't really matter. I do know for a while corvettes were the one to go for because they had the highest evasion rating, but I'm not quite sure. I'm honestly one of the weakest things that I have. One of the weakest things for me is fleet composition, just because I usually. Honestly, what normally determines it is just circumstance, right? Like I had 20 corvettes and then I did destroyers and I added 5 new destroyers. And I normally don't build the ships. I normally let the AI handle it for me unless I have a really specific enemy I'm fighting. An emergency transmission buoy floats in gentle orbit around Falmir 4. Its outer casing is heavily damaged, seemingly by glancing weapons fire or a powerful explosion. It might be a Zukokan model for civilian ships designed to be ejected as an emergency measure should the comm systems fail. But the extent of the damage makes it impossible to know for certain. It is repeating a weak, distorted signal.
Situation log updated.
Alright, well, boy oh boy. Again, just hoping for those fancy mineral resources. I guess I did say I was going to improve my armies too, didn't I? But before I do that...
Special project complete.
Alright, I've got my first upgrade. The buoy has been verified as one of Zukokan make, and the signal that it's relaying has been stabilized. Zukokan authorities, identify yourselves. Hello? This is the captain of the Luxion, a Zukokan civilian transport. The former captain. The Luxion is gone. We were boarded by pirates and taken captive before they blew up the ship. Who captured you? I think they call themselves the Ransomiers? The Ransomiers. At any rate, they're a vile bunch. We'd all be dead already if they didn't think they could get something from us from the Zukokan cartel. Or cabal. I've overheard them discussing their demands. We will rescue you. Oh, thank you. Thank you, Warlord. We're being held in some space station, but I have no idea where we are beyond that. I will increase the transmission burst now. It should let you triangulate the location of this prison from the emergency buoy.
Situation log updated.
Upon closer examination, we've discovered a smaller asteroid consisting almost entirely of precious metals, recently collided with E9ROR95. This small but dense cache of metals was hidden just beneath the asteroid's surface, but now it has been discovered. It should be accessible to mining. Where is this? Probably not likely I'm going to get that, but we'll see. Who is this? Tecarus Matrix? Do you like me? Yeah, they're okay.
Star system charted.
I'm going to start doing some nasty things to people, though. So if they don't like me, I'm going to... Okay, borders are closed with them. Anybody who I have like a massive sort of deficit with opinion-wise, I'm willing to block out. I love the fact that all these guys are inferior. I'm going to be able to...
System charted.
I'm going to be able to vassalize them all. Alright. Let's not build those mining stations yet. I probably have a capital to build. Okay, Corvette hull points are up. Advances in the building techniques will allow for the construction of sturdier, more durable Corvettes. I'd really love to build the upgraded Starholds, but again, I do want to commit to this sort of this policy of the low cost upgrades. Let's go for, well, we'll start with a flak battery. And I should have, there we go, let's upgrade the headquarters. And I'd love to build an alien zoo, but we don't have it here yet, so. Yak people, Munchie plant people. I, for one, am really looking forward to playing Stellaris with Eyes of Sin just so I can see what she names her species. A new faction has been gaining traction in the internal political landscape of the Zukokan Cabal. Led by scientist Ippa Roko Ki, they call themselves the Drumbeat of Victory Party. Their members have been pushing hard for us to assert our military dominance over the rest of the galaxy. Alright, so sadly I think we're going to lose a mineral platform. I don't think these guys are going to arrive in time.
Star system charted.
It's possible, but I don't have a lot of hope. Okay, idle construction ship. Not happy about that. Let's, again, we'll build minerals for now.
Construction complete.
Colonial assassin. Our governor on Nihal Prime has been found dead. The perpetrator was caught trying to make an escape, an assassin sent by the Raltak royal commonalities. This disrespectful act of aggression can only be the beginning. So we can keep the assassin as an information source for 125 influence. We can execute as a display of superiority. We'll keep him as an information source because I don't really feel like I need the army morale. I'm not going to invade anybody in the next 120 months. I don't usually use edicts, although they've improved substantially in the new DLC. However, I am using a lot of influence in order to expand, so it seems to make a lot of sense for me to keep them around.
Zero G mining platform disrupted.
Damn it!
Star system charted. Construction complete. Construction complete.
So much construction. I'm gonna start
Construction complete.
building some. I'm gonna start building some more armies. And
Star system charted.
I feel like at some point soon I need to actually follow through on this commitment to ooh, that's a really tempting high energy.
Zero G mineral production violently diminished.
Oof, okay, that's 2 down. We are going to do terrible things to you, sir.
Construction complete.
Let's slow it down so we can see the action. And stay out. Okay, so I should have a fleet able to deal with that. It is very tempting to...
Construction complete.
Well, you know what?
Anomaly found.
I'm gonna run for it. It'd be great if I can get this, but the IP Armada has destroyed the pirate station in the Chibnall system and recovered its strong room module. 180 minerals, 100 energy, good. Massive storms are visible from the upper atmosphere of this gas giant. It might be worth an effort to study them in more detail. Absolutely. You can go heal. You can expand. Oh, this is a tough call. So I'd like to expand here. It's going to take me a while to expand out to these areas. Let's not spend too much time thinking about this.
Construction complete.
So this is the benefit to not closing borders. These guys liked me more over time, and so they reopened them. That wouldn't have happened if I stayed closed. Joshy Man, there he is, the smartest voice on Twitch, or was it the sexiest voice on Twitch? You decide, chat. Lambda Serpentis 2 frequently experiences massive and extremely violent storm systems in the atmosphere. Several dozen persistent storms are visible from orbit, with winds often reaching speeds in excess of 700 meters a second. The cause of these storms is not immediately apparent, as we have found nothing in the planet's climate model that would explain them. Our scientists are interested in studying this anomaly. Excuse me. I hate having idle resources like this, but I think the time it will take me to move out here doesn't make it worthwhile. I think waiting for this is the right call. In the meantime, I'm going to build another construction ship because I feel like my expansion is being held back.
Anomaly found.
Okay, so I've got upgrades I can do. Start with the Autothon Monument, then we'll upgrade the food. We're already in double digits for food, so I'm totally okay with that. Class 12 asteroid orbits this planet. The small planetoid's orbit appears to be too stable for its presence to be a natural occurrence and only 10% failure risk, so... Offworld Trading Company. Great news on that. Trade across interstellar distances present a new set of challenges to overcome. It is critical to achieve the transfer of goods from one system to another in a timely and above all cost-effective manner. Let's take a look at what those tile blockers will solve. Two tiles of dangerous beasts which are empty, and my next expansion... Ooh, yeah, that's... I like getting tile blockers and all, but that's not... And actually, I really need to improve my fleet command limit so that I can sustain this other... Oh, wow, they're done that fast. Okay. So I think the story here... This guy's continuing to work on this. And I can't expand out until I get a science ship there. Okay, well, you can build a starbase on Com, and then we're sort of gonna move out like this to try and... We're gonna try and draw the line that this science ship did. Once this guy's done his exploration, though, I'm gonna put a lot of effort into making sure that these neighboring systems get some love. You'll also notice there's a really big mineral hit that you get for having a fleet out. So it really is in your interest to make sure that you sort of have a good that you have a really good infrastructure in terms of just being able to kind of keep some fleets to maintain the peace. Like, so I'm a little weak on my left hand side here, but it's mostly because I don't have any planets to like, they don't have to be planets, but generally you would like to build... I've only got 5 starbase capacity at the moment. So I kind of want to make sure that I'm using these resources effectively, because if I fail to do so, I'm going to... Like, I'm basically not going to be able to achieve the kind of gains or the kind of size that I would, I'd normally get. And the Rambler 146, thank you very much for that auto host. Anybody from Rambler's channel, welcome. He's much better Hearts of Iron player than I am a Stellaris caster. And I make that distinction very carefully. Those of you who've watched him will know what I'm talking about, but welcome. It's always nice to have some people from Rambler's neck of the woods in chat. Alright, for some reason someone towed an asteroid into a stable orbit around Rastaban 8. Massive engine sections and braking thrusters can still be found on the surface, although they have long since been rendered inoperable. Whoever did this also mined the asteroid for minerals, but these operations were seemingly abandoned shortly after they began, which gives it a bonus 3 to engineering research. I'm not sure I'm going to be able to... Okay, income from tributaries is increased. I think I'm going to go for the Starlords. It is our destiny to lord over those who are weaker. Obedient nations that swear fealty to our great empire may be permitted to exist at our discretion. So that gives me a base to build off of later. Let's upgrade the farms. Big one here is, again, farms are going to be how I overcome my... they're going to be how I overcome my slow growth problems. Once I hit 300 minerals, I'm going to upgrade this starport, and really, I do need to start considering when I'm going to be... I really do need to start considering when I'm going to be back colonizing it, but I also need to be back to an energy surplus. even with my ships back home, I'm still in a deficit. One of my favorite descriptions I've used for System Shock's dulcet tones has been modulated, melodic, and enlightened.
Star system
Well,
charted.
God, I sound like I talk purty.
Star system charted.
Let's queue up a new Starbase spell post. The real dilemma here is that the longer I delay building this colony, the longer I don't have a base from which to sort of stage the a second fleet, which means that all these resources can't be exploited. Otherwise, I'm just simply going to lose them to pirates. So that's effectively wasted minerals. But the problem is that right now I've eaten too much in my reserves that I can't do a full colonization, especially for a 10-space planet. A small cargo pod has been left to drift in space above this gas giant. It's been captured by the planet's gravity well and will eventually be pulled into its atmosphere.
Complete.
Okay, so idle construction. We will build a mining station and then expand. Still waiting for this guy to... I can upgrade this starport. This will take a while, but I'll be able to, I'll at least be able to build a sort of a spot to sort of stage to keep the fleet in. Of course, the drawback is that I don't have much of a fleet to keep in orbit there until I get that bonus to the fleet cap. Abandoned cargo pod. A discarded cargo pod was left by someone in the upper atmosphere of Propus 1 long ago. It has somehow escaped the notice of other spacefarers, and its decaying orbit means that it would have been lost in the gas giant's crushing atmosphere within another few years. When the crew of the ISS Aiku unsealed the pod, they found a stash of alien jewelry made out of precious metals, and so a much-needed 500 energy credits is in there. So that basically means I've got almost 200 months worth of energy credits. Obviously that's going to be cut down once I go into the deficit for the colony, but this is exactly what I needed to get the colonization underway. So we will take somebody from Fainov.
Star system charted.
Nope, not Fainov. Nihal. So lots of food, we just can't access it. And we might as well put you here.
Anomaly found.
The material composition of this asteroid differs significantly from its neighbors. It likely has a different origin than that of other bodies in this asteroid
Star
belt and
system
should be
charted.
investigated more closely. Okay, this transport fleet needs to land. Get another one out there for now. Again, it does cost me energy to, well, we're early on in this, so I don't think I'm quite ready to
Construction
give you a gene clinic first. This one I'm reasonably comfortable building mining on, seeing as we're good for food for now. Flak battery. Gun batteries that fire shrapnel rounds at close range. They are particularly lethal to enemy strike craft, but can also defend against missiles. In the meantime, I think I'm just going to go for the cheapest one, which will be my bonus to hull. I actually think that's a fairly good call in general for this setup. I would love to build here right now, but I think eliminating over half my treasury at a time when I'm going to go into a deficit. Like, the fact of the matter is I'm probably going to have some periods where I don't have enough growth. But I genuinely do not see, even though it's going to keep me from, actually, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm just going to have enough to build a capital. This is going to hold me off on growth, but honestly, I just can't justify 400 energy credits when I'm in a deficit. And Although it's difficult to accept, all indicators point towards an asteroid QHOR95 being a coprolite, a piece of fossilized feces from some kind of massive life form. It appears to be almost 1 billion years old, and much of the fossil's original organic composition has been replaced with mineral deposits. Our scientists are baffled as to what kind of creature could have produced something like this. Eyes of Sin says, soft, smooth like flowing amber, a glint of emerald, the whisper on regal pine, the warmth of a pillar of sunlight illuminating a polished hardwood floor, the scent of paper and leather. That is one description that she'd give my lovely vocal talents. Daw. It's very sweet of you. Remarkable. Just don't make me be the one who has to deal with it. Alright, mining network.
Construction complete.
A number of individuals belonging to the pre-sapient native population of Nihal Prime somehow got into a secure compound on the outskirts of our colony. They were chased off within hours, but not before severely damaging several interstellar uplinks dedicated to currency. Oh my god! Yeah, so if I did that clear, we for several hundred credits may have been lost in the ether. Jesus! That's brutal. Alright. Yeah, so that's why you don't empty out half of your treasury, because stuff like that can happen.
Anomaly found.
Sensors pick up unexpected activity from an isolated point on Obnol 5A's. Oh, we are receiving a weak signal from the surface of this planet. The source appears to be some kind of tracking beacon. We'll research that. Unexpected oscillating point on... Yeah. What's it gonna take to uplift these things? Because for 300 credits, I'm willing to just kill these motherfuckers. Epigenetic triggers. How the hell long is that gonna take?
Star system charted.
Just a minute, guys. The Exile. The readings originate from a small research outpost which the Zukakan Cabal has no records of establishing or indeed authorizing. On the surface of Obnal 5A, it is staffed by one Zukakan scientist, fairly talented and industrious one if their research on Obnal 5A is anything to go by. There's a problem with regards to their identity, however. We've been unable to match them against official state records, and they refuse to identify themselves, save for stating that they are an exile. Troopers, thank you very much for that follow. 1801. I definitely appreciate that, guys. We've been unable to match... they've expressed interest in returning to Camdor and serving the Zukakan Cabal directly on the condition that the ISS Luki immediately depart Obnal 5A and no Zukakan ships ever return there. Out of the question. Search every nook and cranny of that outpost. Oh my god, I've got so many construction... Oh, cold and empty. There's nothing unusual about the research outpost itself. It is little but a temporary shelter erected against the savage elements, allowing surface-level planetary study for a limited time before it wears down and the conditions become untenable. The outpost on Obnal 5A is nearing the end of its lifespan, but the planet's intense chill has yet to critically degrade the impermanent structure. The equipment, functional, cheap, intended to be abandoned, is well used, and the local databanks are filled with detailed but ultimately mundane accounts of the planet, as well as the simple experiments that were carried out in its harsh environment. Curiously, no closer examination seems to have been made of the mineral outcropping of the outpost's foundations that are set on. Scans by the ISS Luki indicate that the geological formation, a mountain mostly buried beneath ice, may be partially hollow. More alarmingly, Science Officer Lishmi Zaha Ni reports that the sole inhabitant of the outpost, the mysterious exile, has gone missing and is nowhere to be found. Puzzling. Alright, I can finally expand, as I have always been destined to. I'm going to be mean, and I'm actually going to cut them off before I take Conviab. Alright, I'll build a research station. This is a tough call, actually. I guess I did say I was going to expand and build out, expand and build out. So I'll keep with that tradition. Except I can't afford it. For now, I'm not going to purge them because it occurred to me as a slaver it'd actually be really nice to have a species that I can keep in impoverished conditions and working in my mines. But if they become too costly energy credit-wise, I may change my policy. Short-range transmitter has been located on the surface of Obnol 5. It appears to be an ancient survey marker placed here eons ago to mark a large deposit of precious metal. The miners it was meant for evidently never arrived, and the deposit is still here. Fascinating. I'm going to slightly adjust my exploration plans, so something that looks like this.
Anomaly found.
There are signs of activity by an ancient precursor civilization on this inhospitable rock. Research it. So my reason for the new flight plan will be apparent
Construction
in a moment.
complete.
Okay, another idle construction ship. Build, build, build. And yeah, I'm definitely going to be... I'm going to be cutting it pretty close with these energy credits, but I think I'll be able to manage as long as I'm on top of this, like,
Technology
build out my
secured.
basically develop my systems before expanding is the rule. The one time I might change that would be for Seoul, because that's going to allow me to sort of lock these guys in. More importantly, it gives me another rival, so I'll be gaining more influence, which will allow me to expand out my expand out into my other territories. What happens if I go to negatives? Well, as long as you have like reserves, nothing. But once you go to 0. There's quite a few things that happen, like your military doesn't work as well. It's a little bit like going into debt in Crusader Kings, really. The partial remains of an ancient Yut starship have been found in the high orbit over Obnol 3. An initial analysis conducted by the ISS Luki indicate that the vessel may have served as a colony ship. Even cruiser-sized Yut ships were typically crewed by only 1 or 2 individuals given the immense size of their bodies. But this hulk has more than 24 cryopods attached, each containing withered exoskeletons from what must have been Yut colonists.
Situation log updated.
Okay, yes, I can research this, so... Again, finding the Yut homeworld Actually, I don't remember what the bonuses from the Yut homeworld are, but generally finding the homeworld is a pretty big deal. So I'm willing to spend the time to develop that. These guys might become a problem. We're okay for now on size, but we don't have any... So for a lot of these guys, they sort of have natural boundaries. These guys, except for the Skrek Reavers, there isn't as much to keep these guys in line. Hyperdrive 2. We have identified the existence of points in space where a ship expends less energy to breach their way into the hyperlane. This will lead to a new generation of hyperdrives, and colony development speed is a must, because that will... So one of the big things about colony development speed, I mean, I've already got a ship on the way, so it's a little late to do that now. But a really big thing about that is that's going to be a shorter period of time when I'm running a big deficit building the colony. So with that in mind, like it is something I kind of want to develop relatively soon. Also, this should be
complete.
Yes. So unfortunately, I'm not able to build the trading outpost yet, but I am going to be able to build the shipyard and the crew quarters. Alright, more stuff for my construction ships to do. I think we are going to go out to Seoul, although I'm going to need a while to build this up, and I've got another idle science ship, so... This is a really tough call, because I'd actually like to explore some of these systems close to these borders, but I did say I was going to explore the inside first, so until I start actually getting my borders close to these places, I think it's a good idea for me to see whether or not this is actually worth expanding to the far right or worth expanding to the south. Almost. Alright, and this idle construction ship. Yeah, I think we're just going to keep building the mining resources. Ah! The negotiations for appointing a new warlord are underway. The decision will be announced 2245-0401. Okay, so I can influence this if I want for 200 influence, which normally I wouldn't want to do. Well, I know who I don't want. Yeah. I'm going to be unhappy with everyone who... I'm going to be unhappy with everyone who wins because I'm going to lose a good... I'm going to lose a good leader at that point. But I don't like the idea of gobbling up half of my influence, which could be used for interstellar expansion to influence the election, so... Also, I've got about 2k in strength. Yeah, that's not even remotely close to being able to go to the sanctuary. We will start clearing out some of these guys, but again, I want to box these guys in for some of my... I mean, even if I can box them in here, that'd be ideal.
Construction complete.
By the way, for those of you who didn't notice, scanning the star unveils a small object in rapid orbit.
Special project complete.
Most of the remains of the Derek Ute colony ship that orbits Obnol 3 are in poor condition, but our archaeologists managed to recover the vessel's sublight engines. The Ute never breached the light barrier, depending instead on cryotechnology and 1,000-year-long natural lifespans to spread their empire across the stars. 150 physics research, that might be the last artifact. Nope. Scanning the star unveils a small object in rapid orbit. Its small size and high velocity make it difficult for our sensors to isolate. It's 20% failure risk. Yeah, I'm okay with that. And build the base. I think this will be built in time.
Construction complete.
So we'll send these. Warlord Schnook Trop has been chosen as the new ruler and will reign until death. So we'll take our... Okay, looky. He's good at anomalies, but again, this is just a really powerful scientist, so I don't want to... Ooh, I just took a big hit on my... I don't think... Yeah, I definitely can't afford to hire a new scientist right now. So, sadly, we're going to have to go down a... We're going to have to go down a... We're going to have to go down a point on... for exploration. So I need to make some pretty serious decisions on... Okay, definitely want this to be explored, and he's a fast surveyor, so he's going to explore these last two, and then I think we're going to head back to these explorations. This I'm reasonably okay with, but yeah, we definitely need to wait until we've got the new colony before I start spending energy credits. All right, and you, again, we'll go for the mining station, but this is basically going to be my savior energy-wise.
Construction complete.
Okay.
Construction complete.
Probability conundrum. We have gotten a report from Science Officer Limshi Shash. It appears that a ceramic container is circling the star Sasson. Most peculiar. It should obviously not be there, yet somehow it has managed to find its way into a close orbit. A special project can be issued to investigate the container and try to deduce how it ended up there. A conundrum worth investigating.
Situation log updated.
So this guy's going to be occupied for a while. Oh, so many idle resources. Okay. More minerals.
Star system charted.
Again, the important thing here is even though the Losvata League can now use the ideology casus belli against us, I still haven't quite figured out how they... Oh, this must be because we're bordering now. Alright, you know what? Let's start getting this energy taken care of. Alright, so this is... Yeah, I'm gonna do this system and then we're gonna move the... Okay, so these guys are egalitarian spiritualists, so we must have an ideology as well. Apparently not. But we can declare them a rival, and that will give us bonus influence. Yeah, I don't see why anybody would be supportive of my stuff, Joshy, man. Ah, the Techerus Matrix want a defensive pact. Greetings, Zukakan. We, the Techerus Matrix, would like to support a proposal for the initiation of a bilateral defensive pact between our nations. This is going to cost me influence, but I will agree to this. And this will be because eventually I will be able to vassalize them. Oh, they've raised to equivalent. Ah, it's because of their naval capacity. So I need to start working on that. Alright, I need to think a little bit about what my next couple of moves are going to be. Definitely want to be focusing on my energy. I may dedicate this to energy production. Problem is the rest of the planet is a little mineral focused, so building something like a mineral processing unit would be pretty good here. What about my idle construction ships? Yeah, we're just going to keep building these. I mean, we'll upgrade them over time. Yeah, so I forgot to mention Eye of Hawking. For those of you who didn't see it before. Ooh, yeah, this is going to be tough, especially losing 20 energy a month. I definitely need to get this. I think I need to get this under control. Alternatively, I can like go for broke. I could do plunder. That would give me like 500 energy credits. But the problem is that I would be spending so much maintaining my fleets that I might bankrupt myself in the time that it took me to accomplish that. I am slightly curious though. So continental world, so they'd actually be able to survive. I mean, this would be a great way for me to get some extra population by going to war with them too. So what I'm going to do, let us end this charade. I think what I'm going to do, is there a science nexus in the Eye of Hawking? Your game had one. So I believe it is randomly distributed. The only one that is a guaranteed... I think the only guaranteed sort of distribution of things would be the it's like the Gogara system is always going to have the Infinity Machine. I believe everything else is randomly assigned. And of course, welcome Polyphides.
Star system charted.
Alright, again, now is the time to to start realizing the benefits of these energy systems.
Construction complete.
What are these guys up to? It's possible once they explore this system, they will they'll put their starbase down there, but I think we can beat them.
Construction complete.
Oh yes, this is idle, so I want to reassign this scientist. Who is this? Ratch Top. So this is... Oh, come on. So this is basically just so I can sort of shore up my borders against these guys. I've got 2 ships, my only 2 science ships exploring this area right now, and it's mostly just so that I get some options in terms of where my expansion goes. You'll notice a lot of my expansion has sort of been blocked because I haven't explored any of these, and as it turns out, this is exactly where the bad guys turned out to be. So, although, I mean, let's face it, I've had a pretty good run of getting stuff, and I definitely sort of abused my position to sort of snake down into here, which is of course why I'm now losing a ton of money trying to colonize this system. I've only got 10 more months to run at these levels, but the good news is that I've got a lot of energy resources to gobble up, so I should still be okay, although I'm going to start pausing a lot to make sure that I'm building things at the rate that I should. Actually, I can queue them up, it turns out. And probably not the smartest thing for me to do, but I will actually... I'll do the full complement. You like how the path looks octopusy to match my
Construction complete.
match my my flag. We received a communique from a previously unknown spacefaring empire that call themselves the Zathoran Tribes. They claim to have learned of our existence by listening in on the communications of another empire that we are in contact with. Alright, so there's xenophobes and fanatic militarists. I represent the Zathoran Tribes. Our elected leader, clan speaker Miti, would have you know that we are more than capable of defending our way of life. Do not interfere in our affairs, aliens. You know, somehow I don't think you are, but our warriors salute you nonetheless. Never hurts to be polite. Okay, and then of course they block the they block the territory. So the nice thing is I'll be able to double back and gain some of the energy resources here as well, but I have a feeling that I'm going to either have enough money or I won't. I have a feeling that the whole money thing is going to be decided before I start grabbing those. Like half a year left.
Receiving communications.
After successfully translating our language, we've established communications with the Gurite Cooperative. Diplomatic channels are now open and all hostilities have been terminated. Thank you very much for the bits, just lurking and enjoying the cast. I really appreciate that, Sparks5. Okay, 53 influence. These guys are going to hate me. I speak on behalf of the Gurite Cooperative. We are a democratic nation committed to upholding the individual freedoms of our... Oops, sorry. Individual freedoms of our citizens in a galaxy full of alien horrors. Our elected leader, President Veshbag, warns you not to interact with our citizens or approach our space. We will fight for our right to exist, Gurite. Give them a reason to be scared. Proceed with caution. Yeah,
Star system
Oh, you know what? I
charted.
never actually checked out where the base was. I will decline because there's no benefit to me for doing this. I really need to find a good way to get my naval capacity up. Colonizing planets is one way, and the technology that gives me additional star bases is another. But I think what it's going to come down to, I need to get my energy credits sorted, and so once I can finance a war, nonsense. Yeah, that's why. Yeah, once I'm able to actually finance a war, I think I'm just going to go raiding on these guys to give them a bit of a bloody nose. And, I mean, I could just straight up conquer some of their planets. I don't know, though. I think maybe we'll just, you know, bomb them, take some slaves, and call it a day. That's very good to hear, the Eyes of Sin. I wasn't sure if your existing computer would be able to run it or not, and I feel bad if it doesn't. I forgot that I also have off-world trading companies, so I can get another 6 energy. But it's going to take me a few months. I think the question will be whether or not I can build an off-world trading company or a mining station faster. Oh, who doesn't like Gurite Cooperative? Yeah, they're never gonna like me, so close those. I've never even met you before. Well, you know what? Your face looks funny. You'll be upgrading prior to retrieving your excellent. Obviously, I know you are living on the proceeds of your excellent art. Incidentally, for those of you who are streamers, the Eyes of Sin does do... Ooh, I am definitely going to want to get that gate. Although I don't really have any of the... I really don't have the star bases to defend it. But again, nobody has the technology to open it yet, so...
Construction complete.
Okay, good. So we've boxed these guys in. More mining stations to keep me from going bankrupt. But yeah, I know you're living on your wits and your art. For those of you who are casters, the Eyes of Sin is the one responsible for the lovely emotes that I have in my channel. And yes, they really are lovely, and I'm allowed to say that about my own emotes. But if you are looking for them, I can say that Sin's rates are good. In fact, if anything, I think she should be raising them. And she does support herself doing this. And so if you would like to help contribute towards things like PC upgrades, that is a fantastic way that you can get something for yourself. You can keep her in food and clothes and computer parts and feel good about doing so. I think we need a fundraiser for Eyes of Sin to get a new computer to design more art. Well, she's already designing very good art with her existing computer. I want her to get a better computer because people who do creative work should not have just a subsistence living and, you know, having to deal with this like, oh, well, you decided to go and do your own art thing, you know. You want a PC? You want to be able to eat every day?
Anomaly found.
Yeah, well, it depends on the part, too. I should have asked Sin, what are you planning on upgrading to? Colossal Impact Crater hints that something big collided with the surface of this planet once. Got more upgrades to do. Again, we're out of the woods as far as energy is concerned, but that's no excuse to be idle on our upgrades. Oh, actually, I've got plenty, so let's start getting these off-world trading companies built. And once so this colony ship should touch down before too long, and that's also going to allow me to, that's going to free up a little bit of energy. Okay.
Technology secured.
Giving control. Oh, that's perfect time for this to go. So by giving control of the colony ship to an artificial intelligence, the crew and colonists can now be suspended in a deep sleep. That could not have come at a better time. And this is the cheapest, so even though I'm going up against enemies which are a little bit more
Colonization in progress.
like physical weapon oriented,
Construction complete.
that's still not a bad upgrade to get. Massive crater on Ibloranda 5 appears to be the result of a collision with a starship. From the size of the crater, we expect that a ship exiting a hyperline at maximum velocity rammed this planet for reasons unknown roughly 10,000 years ago. The ISS Loki has picked up residual subspace echoes near the crash site reminiscent of a collapsed hyperparticulate field. As the ship itself disintegrated on impact, the theory cannot be verified. And 150 physics research for our trouble. Well, their trouble. RAM, GPU, and PSU are all in shortage and super overpriced. Yeah, I definitely know that.
Star system charted.
When I was looking at RAM, it was pretty brutal. I know.
Construction
So
complete.
in Canada, at least, I've noticed that. The video card prices have gone back to MSRPs, and stores have been putting in a one per customer restriction, which seemed to have been working. I don't know what the case is in the US. I have not had any need for any other part, so I haven't been looking. The big funny thing, though, is like I do work on computer price indexes, and it's not affecting pre-built computers, which I'm measuring, so I'm very happy. Everybody tells me my indexes are wrong, but I'm like, nope, you're just measuring the wrong stuff. Alright, so fleet command limits up. Gradual adaptation to the realities of deep space combat allows us to effectively coordinate larger maneuvers. I really like the alien zoo. That'll give me a much needed bonus to my society as well as happiness. But let's take a look at what the situation is for tile blockers, because I am actually running into... So realistically, I get 2 tiles. I think I'm gonna go for the alien zoo. Alright, and these guys are where I
Special
want them to
project
be. Oop.
complete.
We tried everything in order to find out how the ceramic pot ended up in stellar orbit. Maybe we're all crazy. Maybe it does not even exist. Guess what? We tried calculating around these facts as well. We're done. There's nothing more we can do here. The only plus side to this is that we had tons of time to spend on philosophical and economical questions when we could not stomach to keep investigating the damned thing. Why? 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 And 150 influence, we were drowning in it, which is great. We will upgrade our ships, and now I should be able to do trading hub. So another bonus to
Vessels
energy.
upgraded.
Eisen, I don't know what I'm upgrading specifically. You might get a pre-build because frankly everything is significantly better than your dual-core ATI Radeon 43-4500 10-year-old clunker. Yeah, well that's the big one, Isaacson. Like, so the conventional wisdom, it is completely fine. This is good advice 9 times out of 10, that if you want to save money, building your own PC is the best option. But we are at a stage where most individual parts cost more than what they should, and so because the PCs have been built with sort of the old prices in mind, right? You've kind of got your contract, and you don't need to worry about the fluctuation of individual components. it's one of these cases where it actually makes a lot of sense to buy a pre-built PC. Now, of course, the drawback is that some of the components are going to be sort of like stuck together, so it might be harder to upgrade. That might be a consideration. But yeah, I mean, obviously, number one, you know what your budget is, you know what you're willing to spend, but more important, it's your computer, right? So I don't know. Jess and I knew somebody who really took way too much of an interest in other people's upgrades and wound up giving them very bad advice just so that they could feel better about their contributions. But I think obviously if you want opinions or if you want help with any of this, obviously I'm not going to turn it away. But oh damn it, I thought that was for the naval capacity, not the fleet size. Okay, that's going to make things a little harder. But yeah, I think you're perfectly capable of deciding this stuff on your own. All right, alien specimen procurement. The director of Museum of Exobiology on Camdor has issued a request for the procurement of several live alien specimens. These creatures were spotted on surveyed habitable worlds, but they are difficult to capture. It will require the full resources of a science ship for a lengthy period of time. We'll gather these specimens. Now, I am at my limit. I need sleep. I got a late start, and I went later. I mean, I did my usual time, but I think the time has come to call it a night. We made some reasonable progress. We didn't do a lot of fighting, but we did sort of achieve our goal of cutting off the Zum entity. So the drawback is, of course, that there's still equivalent strength. Ark the Frenchie, thank you very much for that follow. I really appreciate that. Thank you very much, Vanguard Master. It was a pleasure to have you here as always. Some of the next steps that we're going to be taking. So I do want to continue on with this path of sort of like building something down and expanding out. What I'm probably going to do is this ship is going to turn around and go for like Ilfor and Sayama and things like this. They're going to expand out this way. This ship's going to go kind of to the right. And then I think this ship is going to start sort of expanding out to eventually create a border with these guys. I'd ideally like to avoid the Skrek Reavers, but then things like finding, multiple gateways. I mean, this actually might be more of a liability than anything to have two of them in my systems. But anyways, to kind of do this sort of expansion, try and find whatever natural choke points I can make. I definitely need more planets to colonize, but even if I can get some borders with fairly weak enemies, getting myself to... So there's a few things, like getting myself to some energy levels where I'm able to bring a fleet in and we're able to sort of pillage these guys for a little while. That'll be great for building up my populations. Being able to sort of expand it out so that I can touch the Tecarus Matrix and turn them into a vassal or something like that would also be nice. Obviously, we've created a little bit of a balance of power by, having... Basically, these guys are... they're hostile to the Tecarus. We have a bigger navy than them right now, but they do have equivalent technology and they have a superior naval capacity, so it's likely that these guys are going to expand out to a level that can cause some harm to us. I want to keep that in mind, and I want to be able to sort of put some damage on their ability to sort of defend themselves while I'm still trying to establish myself. I mean, when you think about it, right, for all the expansion that we've done, we really haven't found a lot of planets that we can colonize. I've colonized everything that I can reach with the exception of Heodim. And what I'm probably going to do with Heodim... Well, actually, I think it depends... It depends on what we find inside here. If we don't find anything that we can expand out to, then what I'm probably going to do is I'm going to make Yogrilla the... Oh, no, not Yogrilla. Eglor the... sort of the capital for the next sector, and we'll try and move out from there. Of course, the other possibility is that I just take the Losvada League, I start doing some claims on their individual planets, and I start gobbling them up. This will be a bit of a problem because they do have, they just have simply different ethics from me. I'm going to have to put some armies in place to, to keep them under control. But that will help in terms of the fact that they have a fairly sizable fleet capacity. So I mean, if I wanted to, let's say I wanted to start throwing my weight around a little bit. Let's say we just took a slice off like that. I mean, we definitely have the influence to handle it, and we would be taking, what, 1 system? Yeah. I could probably even get a little more aggressive with it, really. If I did something like that, well, they'd still have kind of a, they'd still sort of have an escape, but that would basically cut them off from any further expansion. Probably have to add that too. I don't know, like there's definitely a big bite that I can take out of them. The biggest thing I need to make absolutely sure of though is I need to have all my fleets like ready to go, and I need to hit them hard in their main systems, because if I give them enough time to recover, they're going to come back with a very big, very scary fleet, and I'm not going to be able to handle them. Anyways, those are some considerations for another night. We sort of got our goals of limiting the expansion of the Zum entity. We've got a new rival, which is actually going to cause us a little bit of difficulty. We've got more than enough civilian ships expanding out. We finally balanced our economy. We're now at our planet cap, or will be fairly shortly. And I think the next little while we need to worry about managing expansion in a way that will allow me to have further anchorages. And part of that's going to be expanding out to Hayadum, but part of that's also... Oh, hey, we've also got Beta Kaylee 3, so I might actually... Oh, that's going to be tough for sectors, actually. So I've got, like, Hayadum on its own. So, what? I sort of carve out all this for Hayadum? I don't know. If we find some systems in there, maybe, but... Something for future me to worry about, I think. I'm feeling reasonably good about this. I'm in a fairly strong position. The only thing that I think is really a threat to me, realistically, are the Marauders. Relative power. Yeah, inferior, inferior, inferior. So the Losvada League is my real concern. And I think as fun as it is to be sort of these barbarians and gobble up some pops, I actually think I'm going to do just a traditional war and slice off a big chunk of their territory in order to limit their growth. That's probably the best thing that I can do right now. And I'm definitely going to focus on like things that keep them from being able to go out into space. But with that in mind, we will see you all on next Monday for Stellaris. For those of you who like some of the other stuff that I do, we will be... I'm not quite sure. I really want to do some more Cultist Simulator again. So the two big ones that I've been juggling between are Doom and Cultist Simulator. I think the best thing to do is follow me on Twitter at SystemChalk for more details on what I'm going to be streaming when I decide on that. A couple of things to keep in mind. If you haven't played Stellaris yet and you're interested in it, my mod Jessie Quill is also a caster. That's her Humble Bundle link. The game is currently 60% off, so if you have the game or you want to pick up some of the DLC for it, you can follow that link. You can buy them at a discount, and doing so will put a little bit of a commission in Jess's pocket. She's definitely a very worthwhile caster and somebody who helps me a lot, so if I can drive a little traffic to her affiliate link, that's great. And also to keep in mind, for those of you who are looking to support my cast, there's a very good sale on GOG right now. Basically, if you add stuff... So one thing that does help me with GOG is if you don't have an account and sign up for it, that does actually help me. It doesn't cost anything to open it up, but if I drive traffic to their site, that's something that they like. If you buy something through that link, they have the Most Wanted Game sale on right now. If you wishlist some stuff, there's a chance that you will earn some... they'll basically, they're going to give away some random games that are on wish lists, which is nice. And the 150 or so, I think, most wishlisted games on GOG, they're on sale. It's up to 85%. It's on for a little while. It's on until the 23rd. But they've got everything on there. There's some noteworthy ones. Planescape Torment, the original one. Oh, also the Enhanced Edition, I believe. Divinity Original Sin 2, Witcher, Witness, Shadowrun Hong Kong is one that I really like. I bought the Stalker trilogy. I'm really interested in that. I got a good recommendation. Thimbleweed Park's on sale. This War of Mine, Baldur's Gate, Darkest Dungeon, Homeworld, There's lots of really good stuff on there, both new and old, so I encourage you guys to follow that link, check it out if there's something that you want. Again, I like my partnership with GOG, and if I can give them a little support that way, that's also something that winds up with money in my pocket as well. So anyways, I know nobody liked being advertised to, but these are ones that I feel reasonably good sharing about. I don't know what Shand is doing, so I think I'm going to host Ponce again. Ponce is back to EverQuest. He's probably going to go to bed soon, but I do like Ponce. Obviously, if you guys want Stellaris, you can just click the game down below, follow those links. But Ponce is a good friend. He used to do League of Legends before he realized that he liked other games and wanted to move on to it, and I've been enjoying his time in EverQuest, which is, you know, just some WoW clone, but he really makes it look worthwhile. Anyways, Ponce is a lot of fun. I do encourage you guys to come along, use the raid message, Retired System Talker, this place was better, and even if he's just streaming for a few minutes, he's definitely a very friendly guy, very relaxed stream, and I also recommend giving him a follow because he plays Bloodborne and the Dark Souls games very well. Alright, have a good night, guys. See ya.